in totality. I'm just vehemently against it in this particular situation. Vehemently against it. I think this was an absolute debacle by the Patriots and Gerard Mayo specifically, or Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf, or whoever's involved in this decision-making process. They blew this. They choked this away. Just a huge mistake. You knew for a long time that you were going to have a top pick in the draft last year. You knew for a long time you were going to have the number 3 overall pick in the draft. With that being said, there is no way, there was no room for this situation to unfold the way it did. And for you, with the Patriots, and with the way they had handled the quarterbacks and what their current quarterback situation was, there was no room to not play the number 3 overall pick. I'm sorry. Okay, you can blame Bill Belichick. You can blame whoever was there. There was no room to do that. Not with the situation that you had at your hand. That's just, it's not what could happen. The number 3 overall pick. It is bad enough that the Patriots went into this whole process with the number 3 overall pick, a quarterback, and had no intention of starting him based on the situation they were in. That's bad enough. That's a big enough mistake. Then to compound that mistake by putting up the facade of some mythical competition, only to watch the number 3 overall pick win the competition, and then to just revert back to the wily old veteran who's not nearly as good, who's never been that good, and who got dinged up in the preseason finale to say he's the starter is the ultimate debacle. And people say to me, people respond, and they say, well, what's it going to matter? Is Drake May going to, mean that many more wins this year? What are you going to do if you go with that? It's not the point. What type of precedent are you setting? What type of message are you sending by doing something like this? I mean, if you're at any type of competitor, you'd be pissed. You'd be livid. I mean, imagine telling Tom Brady, here you go out there and compete for the starting job and fight for the starting job, only to win it. And then you're told, no, you're going to be on the bench. You're not going to play. You're going to be on the bench. And you're going to watch the guy who's clearly not better play. Shame on the Patriots. If they wanted to sit this guy, which again, I don't think is a huge disaster if you're prepared for that situation. You need to build up your team in a way that's not going to create the scenario that unfolded. You need to have a representative roster with a quarterback that is worth a damn. Okay, that can take you to the precipice of a playoff spot. The Patriots are not prepared for this. They're not prepared for what's coming. I don't think they're prepared for what's coming. And they're going to have to deal with that. Good luck. They do not have a plan in place for Jacoby Brissett to go out there and look like hot garbage. Hot garbage. Not even the regular garbage that's cooled off and that's not hot. Hot garbage. Now, I've been supportive of this team all along. I still don't think the offensive line is as bad as everyone's saying it is. Scheme it up, do some things to protect them, and figure out a way to not be absolutely pathetic. I cannot stand the way they approached this whole process, this competition. If you wanted to do this, then just do it. Just do it. Come out there with a little bit of conviction and own it and say, you know what? We're playing the veteran. The rookie's not going to play. Tough bleep. Fans, media. I mean, I can't stand this. The way Gerard Mayo, and I appreciate him being friendly. I mean, nobody got their teeth kicked in by Belichick more than me, arguably. Some people probably did, but it happened to me plenty. But this friendly thing, hello friends, like we're Big Bird up there, Jim Nantz, I don't want to hear that. If you wanted to play the veteran, and that was the plan all along, then say it. Say it. We're playing the veteran. There's no competition, and I don't care. I mean, how do you feel if you're a member of the team? Think about the trickle-down effect. If you're an offensive lineman, you know Drake May gives you a better chance because he's more mobile, he's more elusive. He can help protect you, cover up your warts. If you're a wide receiver, do you have faith in Jacoby Brissett? He's never been anything in this league. And I know he's a great guy, the best. He's never been anything in this league, let alone behind an offensive line. And I mean, I don't want to, listen, he's a well-respected veteran quarterback. You know, I don't mean to trash him. But this was if this was a competition, it was clear what happened. Drake May was better. He's better. And I can't support this. It's better for the long run. Screw that. What does that mean? What a bunch of just scared wussies. Wuss. I wanted to have a football season. This is not a football season. It's the opposite of competition. I mean, you come off as plain scared and hesitant. You had an opportunity to better the roster, to protect one of your biggest holes, to cover up for one of your biggest holes. Oh, Drake May's not ready. No, he's not ready to be at his best. He's ready to play NFL football. He's not ready to be at his best. And guess what? If he's not ready, or if he's scared to play behind the offensive line, or if he took a couple hits and that ruined his confidence, he was going nowhere anyway. Nowhere. Protecting the investment. Most people thought he had a 10% chance of working out anyway. Put him out there. Let him play. Your team was in no position to allow this to happen. You had nothing at quarterback. You've had nothing at quarterback. You've been embarrassing at the position. Even when you had a little something, you ruined it. I mean, guys don't want to come here because the quarterback situation has been awful. You had a chance to do something about it. And instead, you pissed away this season. That's what you did. You have pissed away this season. Oh, week 5 is the sweet spot. Okay, good. So when week 5 comes around and 2 of the best receivers are hurt because they've been getting hospital balls or whatever, the lineman's hurt, then what? Week 5. Give me a break. This whole thing is a mess. If you wanted to do this, the Patriots should have been prepared to do this. They were not prepared for this. And I don't know what they thought Jacoby Brissett was going to come in and offer. Well, I mean, you know what he is. Do you think he was going to come in here and light it up, especially with the team and the roster that you had? You can't put the number 3 overall pick on your team, on your roster, at the risk of having him look good, say it's a competition, and then go with the other guy that was clearly not better. You can't do it. And I'm not trying to make this personal, but now I got to sit there and watch crap football for 5 weeks or 8 weeks or more, hopefully. I hope it's longer. Because you can't play them anytime soon if you're the Patriots. You can't do it. I mean, I was wrong. I will admit I was wrong. I thought that they would eventually, with the weeks leading up to the regular season opener, they would find a way to convince themselves that the best chance at winning was playing Drake May. I thought they were going to do it, and I was wrong. I was dead wrong. So I'll own that. I'll eat that. Again, I don't have a problem sitting a quarterback. I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing you could do. But don't tell me that it's not going to matter because they wouldn't win games or the future, blah, blah, blah. This affects the way the head coach is perceived. The way they handled this will affect the way he's perceived. This will affect the culture of the New England Patriots. Doesn't ruin them totally, and they're going to need Drake May to save their ass. But you started out now with a culture of being careful and scared. And instead of attacking the moment and trying to do the best you can to give the team a chance to win, you opted for the future. You opted to not play the guy that was best suited to help you win now because you're looking out for the future and what's best for the future. Do you know what that's called? When we get back, I'm going to tell you what that's called. And you're not going to want to hear it. But that's what this is called. Okay? When you purposely don't play a guy, especially at a key position, who's the best player for that position that will give you the best chance to win with an eye towards the future. Okay, there's something that you could classify that as that nobody wants to hear, myself included, but we have to. That's next. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray.
All right, back on the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe. 617-779-0985 if you want to chime in on the Patriots' decision today. Before we get to what I think the Patriots are sort of doing here, let's talk to Brian in Hingham. Hey, Brian.
Hey, the flaw, I think, is that you're forgetting your whole response is emotional, and it's a business, right? Drake May has absolutely nothing around him. Nothing. No receivers, no offensive line. As a business, you have to pivot. If you have a guy in there, and even though you might say, hey, he's going to win the battle, at the end of the day, you have to do the math and go, you know what? He has nothing around him, nothing to succeed. So I agree with the sentiment, but it is a business. You have to take the emotions out of it.
All right, thanks for the call, Brian. I totally disagree with your call. It's a business. What is the NFL? What is the NFL? Skaz, what is the NFL? It's the winning business. That's the NFL. Who gives you the best chance to win? Who? Drake May is the answer. So I don't know what I mean. I'm confused. I'm sorry. What am I missing here? He gives you the best chance to win. Don't try to tell me Jacoby, because he knows whose offense? Alex Van Pelt. Okay? Van Pelt, whose resume is underwhelming at best. No offense. Underwhelming at best. I don't know what else to say. The guy gives you the best chance to win. He's dynamic. He helps you cover up the warts that are the offensive lineman. I mean, he's more talented. Not only that, psychologically, he gives the team a lift. Again, I'm not against sitting a quarterback. I like the old school ways in a lot of instances. But here it doesn't work. Your team is not prepared for that. And I don't know what, Brian said, it's a business. What business? You're protecting your asset? Is that the business decision that they're making? No. You're not protecting it. I don't think they're protecting anything. What are they protecting? Like I said, if the kid could go out there and play, he's going to find a way to play. If he can't play, he's going to find a way to not play. So it's not about the offensive line or he has no weapons. Screw that. If he could play, if he's the quarterback that you hope that you drafted at 3 overall, not in the 3rd round, not in the 6th round, 3 overall. Doesn't matter. Now, he's not going to win much with all those things going wrong around him, but he's still going to be able to play football. He's still going to be able to progress and become the quarterback that you want him to be. He's not going to get ruined. And if he does get hurt and catastrophe strikes, well, then next year, maybe he ends up with Jamar Chase. I don't know. He'll bounce back if he's destined to do so. I mean, they weren't set up to do this. They were not a team set up to sit the number 3 overall pick. And I don't think they have a plan in place for what they're going to deal with in the regular season. I don't think they have one. 617-779-0985. Jason's in Newton. What's up, Jason?
Hey, Mark. First of all, I also spent a couple of years in Dalton, Georgia. So
yes, sir. I loved it. I got to get back there. Unbelievable place.
Chattanooga was more fun to visit. But
it was.
I've been listening here, and I agree with you. I think that Drake May would make a difference more so than Brissett. But how many wins do you think he's going to actually – if they started Drake May, how many wins would he actually get for this team? They're not going to win more than 5 or 6 games this year.
Correct.
So why not just have him sit and learn and get a better offensive line around him for the next year when he can come out and really, with some experience and practice under his belt, we can actually start winning?
That's a good question. I'll answer it. Thanks for the call, Jason. Like I just said, I think the way this whole thing played out is a knock against Gerard Mayo. And now I question, going forward, what the guys in that locker room think of his program. That's the problem. I understand that you're not going to get that many more wins if Drake May plays. There'd be a hell of a lot more hope. It'd be a lot more exciting and fun to watch. But who cares about that? It's about winning. And I'm wondering what type of program you're establishing. I mean, a lot of people out there are parents. I'm not the best parent, but I do know if you threaten your kid about if he does this or if she does this, you're going to get grounded. You better follow through with the grounding, or I don't know. You look a little weak. You look a little indecisive. Next time, they might not take you seriously. They might question you. I mean, I wonder what this does to the psyche of the locker room, to the program, to the culture of the team, to the culture that Mayo is trying to. I mean, you need the respect of your players. I understand it's all about the players and the quarterback sets the tone and creates the culture. But you need a coach that people respect. And I'm not saying they don't respect Gerard Mayo, but I think this was a mess. You're saying over and over, this was a competition. Your whole program, based on his comments earlier in the preseason, was predicated on competition. And in the most important competition that yielded a decisive answer, you just totally negate the competition and go with the guy that was clearly not the winner of the competition? I think that's a little risky. And that's what's going to hurt the Patriots, potentially. That's why I don't like it. The indecisiveness and what it could do and how it could affect the culture and the program. And guys thinking that they know more than the coach or that the coach isn't the one that's actually in charge or whatever. That's not a great situation. On top of the fact, I think he wouldn't be ruined if you played him, and that I thought that if he played, he would progress and he would learn faster. And he'd be up to speed and ready to go more efficiently. So, all of the above. Jerry is in the car. Hey, Jerry.
How you doing, Mark?
What's up, man?
So my opinion on this is when we drafted Drake May, everybody knew he was a project. So he was the number 3 pick. Thought he had more skill than these other guys, but these other guys had a lot more experience. And the whole point with getting him, it doesn't really matter whether he was better than
Brissett.
What's his name? The other quarterback.
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett. What matters is he may be better, but he has this project was going to take longer than one training camp to get him ready. I think the key is not worrying about whether he's better than Brissett, but is he fully trained the way you want him to be? He may be better than Brissett now, but he could be a better player with more training. And by that I mean sitting and watching and going, not necessarily being thrown into the fire. Whatever the course that they were taking to get this guy ready, if they don't feel he's where he should be, even though he's better than Brissett, I wouldn't play him either.
Okay, thanks for the call, Jerry. I disagree. I think that if you play him appropriately, you would get him ready, and he would be ready faster. I understand that people think that there's risk. He could get hurt. He could lose his confidence. Do you understand that if those are the things that happens, he's a loser anyway? He's not going to amount to anything. Doesn't matter if you wait 2 years, because the first sign of adversity, he's out. He'll crack, he'll get his cage rattled, and he won't be able to progress forward or get to the level that he was either at or the level that you ever hoped him to be at or hoped for him to be at. It wouldn't happen. I don't understand this whole thing, this notion that just by sitting there and watching him, Brissett, that is, play, he's going to get better. He'll improve. He'll feel a little bit more comfortable. Maybe he'll feel a little bit more ready. But if the kid can play, he's going to figure it out. I don't understand what we're talking about here. If the kid can play, if he's the quarterback that you want him to be, he's not going to get there because he's sat. He would have been there. It'll be a little bit of a different route, but he'll be there. And along the way, the head coach will show that he is about competition and that the kid won the competition and he gives them the best chance to win. He's not worried about the future. Will's in Wayland. Hey, Will.
How you doing?
What's up, Will?
So, do you remember back in the Dynasty documentary, there was a portion when Ernie Adams was breaking down Drew Bledsoe?
Yes.
So there was a portion of that where he basically said ever since his rookie year, he had gotten his teeth kicked in, and it screwed up his timing in the pocket, and he was basically feeling false pressure consistently, and he was basically seeing ghosts, and he would just fall in the pocket or throw an awful pick. And I think if you were to put May in right now, you would ultimately be turning him into that. And then Chris Sims this morning on ESPN likened putting May into what happened with Derek Carr in Vegas. Derek Carr's rookie year had a ton of hype around him, and Vegas essentially ruined him. I think he got sacked almost 80 times his rookie year, and it sped him up, and he just hasn't been the same quarterback since. I agree with you that Mayo stepped in it, but I think it was pressure from ownership to start Brissett because that's where you put your money into, and not start the kid. And ultimately, it comes down to they didn't put the best team forward to protect him. If they had invested in Aiyuk or any weapons and you said start the kid, I'd be with it. But if he's just throwing to a bunch of 3s and 4s and offensive linemen that should ultimately just be practice squad guys, you're setting the kid up to fail, regardless of his skill level. You're just going to get him hurt.
All right, thanks for the call. Well, that's a good point on the Bledsoe thing. But again, I just disagree with that. I think, first of all, I think Drew Bledsoe ended up a damn good quarterback. I don't think Drew Bledsoe, whether or not he took those early hits early in his career and got a little skittish, guess what? Drew Bledsoe was never going to be Tom Brady. It was never going to happen. He was never going to be able to see the field that well and manage the game that well while making the throws that Brady made and being clutch. It wasn't ever going to happen. So the point, I keep saying this, okay? I don't think the best quarterbacks don't get ruined. Is there another way that I have to say? I don't understand where I'm being clear or unclear. If you're going to be that level of the elite of the elite, you're not going to get ruined because you take a few hits. You're not going to get ruined because you throw a few interceptions or you make some mistakes or your weapons aren't around you. You won't win because the team's not good, but you won't be ruined. You're too good for that. You're too good to be ruined. Your confidence won't be shaken. This is the NFL. It's as hard to win the Super Bowl as a quarterback as anything in any sport ever. You need to have elite levels of all types of traits in order for that to happen. I mean, here we are worried about him getting hit and getting skittish, and that's going to ruin him? You don't have much of a quarterback if that's the case anyway. 617-779-0985. You don't have anything to work with if that's the case anyway. I don't know how much more clearer I can make that point. I understand that there's risk. They think there's risk. I think that if the kid is destined to be the quarterback that you hope he will be, he will not be derailed by some adversity or some pressure or consistent pressure that he faces early in his career or a lack of weapons or a lack of confidence because they're not winning or any of that. He will overcome all of the above because he is a dog, because he has confidence, because he is clutch, because he has skill, because he's just destined to be good. I mean, it just wouldn't matter. And he would get in there, get the experience, and take the team where the team wants to go. Forget about you're protecting the asset. The chances of him being that quarterback are still not that good, statistically. Get him out there. Don't sacrifice or put at risk the culture or the way your players perceive you, and have a culture of competition like you talked about all spring and summer. 617-779-0985. Let's get it trending. When we get back, this is the same thing as this word that I didn't get a chance to bring up in that segment, but we're going to get it into this show because it's key. It's a key thing that they're doing, and it disgusts me, but it's key. I'm Mark Dondero in for Joe.
Sports Hub headlines.
Sports Hub headlines. Breaking news out of the NFL. Brandon Aiyuk and the San Francisco 49ers, they have agreed to a one. disappointing today. Disappointing today, and Dean's in Medford on the line. Hey, Dean.
Yeah, I wanted to comment. I think that Drake May is a better quarterback right now than Brissett, but, you don't know how it's going to play out unless you go in a time machine. I can't come up with an example where the right quarterback was put in a bad situation and it didn't work out because he wasn't put in a better situation, because it's revisionist. You just can't go back in time. And when Brady came in, obviously I think Brady is a better quarterback, but he didn't look the best that Brady looked earlier in his career. He was put in a position to be successful with good coaches and a good offensive line, and he transformed himself, because maybe he was great, into the best quarterback of all time. But I think it's too big a risk, and it's so hard to get a good quarterback that you have to do everything possible to put them in the best possible position for success. I'll listen to what you have to say.
Thanks for the call, Dean. Again, what are we risking? What is going to happen to Drake May? Is he going to have a career-ending injury because the offensive line? I mean, come on. You can't think like that. That's just not. He gives them the best chance to win. Again, it's bad enough that they went into this entire process not planning to play the number 3 overall pick, given their current quarterback situation and what it's been. That's bad enough to me. But then to go into it and call it a competition only to watch Drake May win it and then to still not play him, you talk about risk. That's risky to me. That's the bigger risk than putting out the guy who would give you the best chance to win. That's less risky than doing what you did to me. Because if the coach lost the locker room, if they have no faith in what the head coach is or what he represents or whatever, how much say he actually has in the whole process, what are we doing? How are you going to ever win a championship? I mean, even when it was bad with Belichick and guys hated him or whatever, I don't know if they hated him, but when he wasn't their favorite person, when he pissed off the group, they still believed in his ability to coach and his knowledge and the way he did things from a football perspective. I don't know what they think now. I don't know what the team thinks. I don't know what the other coaches think. Is everyone on the same page that Jacoby Brissett should be playing? Everyone? Or is it just Alex Van Pelt because he knows his offense? Alex Van Pelt's offense. I mean, for crying out loud, you make him sound like he's not Theo Epstein of football. There's no reason for everybody to get in a circle and sit crisscross applesauce in front of Alex Van Pelt for him to tell me stories about offenses from years past. Matt's in Charlestown. Hey, Matt.
Hey, yeah, I think you're wrong on this one, man. I mean, Drake May was not a pick of desire. He was a pick of necessity. Watch his tape in college. He was not that good. He couldn't lead his team to was he 6-6 this year, and his wins were against garbage teams. I think his ceiling is going to be like a Mitch Trubisky and his floor a Zach Wilson. I'm not up on him, and neither should you. Watch the tape, see for yourself. Jacoby Brissett will give them the best chance to win.
All right, thanks for the call, Matt. I mean, I'll tell you what. If his ceiling is Mitch Trubisky, then everyone's getting fired. Okay, because I disagree with that. I think that's a convenient comparison because they're both Carolina guys. To tell you the truth, not that I've watched a bunch of Mitch Trubisky, preseason or not, I've never seen him look like Drake May has looked in those preseason games. And I understand it's against 2s and 3, whatever. Physically, he looks the part. I mean, I've never seen Mitch Trubisky, even in the preseason, because in the moment, it doesn't matter. In that specific moment, I don't ever recall seeing Mitch Trubisky execute a play-action pass, climb the pocket, feel the pressure on the blind side, and execute a strike as far down the field as May did. Now, again, I didn't get naked over that, but I do think that was something that I don't ever recall seeing Mitch Trubisky execute. Okay? I just disagree. Okay? And if he's that bad as the caller just mentioned, then I wouldn't have drafted him at 3. So that would have been a conversation for What was his name? I forget his name. I'm sorry. For him to call and talk about in May or in April, whenever the draft was. You can't take this guy because his ceiling is Mitch Trubisky. I don't believe that's the case. And I don't think they do either. Let's get one more in. Chris is in Swansea. Hey, Chris.
Hey, I just got 3 quick bullet points.
Yep.
You know, you're willing to ruin the kid's confidence. You're willing to put him at risk just for your entertainment value. I mean, we talk about Mac Jones and how good he did in his first year, and then all of a sudden his confidence got ruined by the offensive coordinator and the play scheming and whatnot. And then 2, I mean, you're banking on a rookie that went against number 2s and 3s. 3, you're comparing him to the elite of the elite, and if he's the elite of the elite, then he'll get through it. He's a rookie. I mean, come on, dude. You're sounding like a fanboy. Like, I get it. I want the Pats to win, too, but I also don't want them to waste a number 3 selection and then burn it because we are just so thirsty for some kind of thrill in the season when you can only get 2 or 3 more wins.
All right, thanks for the call, Chris. Again, to counter the fanboy thing, I'm not against sitting a quarterback. I don't think it's a bad approach. Think of it this way. Have you ever played golf? For those of you that play golf, I don't think this is necessarily the worst outcome. Okay, but what I think Gerard Mayo did was scull the ball into the woods, it hit a tree, and bounced up onto the green. So good outcome, I guess, if you believe that. But the path there was a disaster, and I don't know what that's going to mean for the rest of his round. Okay? I'm not against completely sitting a quarterback. I'm completely against the Patriots doing it in the situation they're in and doing it in the form and fashion in which they've now done it. Do you understand? That's why, that's how I'd counter the fanboy argument. And if you don't want to see past that, fine. I'm not against them sitting him completely. But when you don't have anything else to fall back on other than Jacoby Brissett, that's not a position you're in where you can take a guy 3 and then sit him. I think it's going to make a lot of people upset. I think it's going to create division. I think it's going to mess with your program and with the way people view how you approach winning. So that's why it doesn't matter that he's only going to give you 4, 2, whatever more wins if you play him. That's riskier. Do you understand? That to me is riskier than putting him out there and having a big defensive lineman chasing after him when he's an elite athlete at 22 years old. He can handle himself. That's riskier. You're demoralizing the program to me. That's the way I see it. If you don't, all right, fine. We can disagree on that. 617-779-0985. And I'll take it a step further. I feel like this is the way of a word that I don't want to say that I keep teasing and we can't get to because I can't get to it. I suck. I can't get to it. But we'll get to it soon enough because I want to make this point. I'm Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here on the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe. This is the problem, okay? Because somebody's got to explain to me. I don't understand the difference. I mean, here's what the Patriots are doing. They are purposely sitting the player at a key position, mind you, that gives them a better chance to win. The most important position in sports with an eye towards the future. That's what they're doing. They are purposely sitting a player who gives them the best chance to win with the whole season in front of them, everything they want in front of them with an eye towards the future. Somebody needs to explain to me the difference between that and tanking. Because there's no season now. There's no season. Now, I understand that Drake May's not going to lead them to the playoffs necessarily, even though Mac Jones did in his rookie year, or the Super Bowl. But you have no season now. Jacoby Brissett, there's no season there. We know what he is. He's not good enough. The team's not good enough with him. They're not going to have any faith with him. Why is that all you people, you anti-tankers, all you people that want to win every game you play, Drake May gives them the best chance to win. And you have made the decision, Patriots, to not play him. To me, that feels dangerously close to tanking. Now, I understand they're not tanking. It's not the same mentality, but it's damn close. Close enough. Okay, this is not the Atlanta Falcons. And I didn't want to be the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't want that. Okay, but what I wanted less was the Patriots to draft number 3 overall and pick a quarterback and then not play him with a worse quarterback than Kirk Cousins. I wanted that even less. At least the Falcons, as much as I have a distaste for Kirk Cousins, at least they have the structure in place, at least, to sort of say, hey, we're not going to play Michael Penix. We have Cousins. We paid him a lot of money. He's made some plays. He's gone to the playoffs before. It's at least representative. I don't want that. I don't want him. He'll never win a Super Bowl. But at least that makes sense to draft the quarterback high and sit him. That makes sense. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to draft a quarterback at 3, create a structure around him that's applicable for playing him, and then play him. And try to have a season like the Texans did last year. You picked at 3. You're right there. They picked at what, 2? You picked at 3. You could have done that. That's ideal. That's what I wanted to do. Get a couple linemen. You drafted receivers. Good. Your defense is pretty good. They did a worse thing. I would have rather them got Kirk Cousins. And that's saying a hell of a lot if you know me. Gabe is in South Carolina. Hey, Gabe.
Hey, bud. You're getting pelted by those callers, man. I just want to back you up, man. And listen, I don't know you from a leaf blowing in the wind, but I 100% agree with you. Listen, if Drake May is what the Patriots and everybody, people forget he was a consensus number 2 overall pick in a draft full of the best quarterbacks, the best draft for quarterbacks. People forget that. If he is what everyone thinks he is, including the Patriots, then starting him now or starting him later isn't going to make a difference. And also, what you're trying to say that people aren't picking up is that, listen, if we got it straight from O.J. Mayo that, okay, we're going to start Brissett for, 6 weeks to a year and then see from there, okay. But he's being wishy-washy, and I'm with you 100%, but I just want to let you know.
I appreciate that call, Gabe. Thanks very much. I can handle the people that come back. I love it. I'm trying to be, I know you're coming off like I'm a fanboy, or that's the way people are perceiving it because that's what they want to hear, but I'm trying to explain the rationale behind why I feel the way I feel. I think the Falcons established a way to sit a top pick. Now, they didn't pick Penix at 3, so that's different. May's 3, so that's different. I just feel like the Patriots should have done more of that. I didn't want that. Again, I didn't want that. But since they weren't going to play the top pick, then that's the way you needed to go. Because I don't know how they're going to have the discipline to keep him on the bench, which is what they need to do. They need to keep him on the bench. And I'm just really uncomfortable with having a guy that gives you a better chance to win and purposely sitting him with an eye towards the future. When does that stop? The NFL, we know what the NFL is now. You need the best players. You need to get those guys at the top of the draft. Why, if you're not going to win, if you're in the middle or towards the end of the season, why don't you just shut it down and sit all you got? Anybody that gets hurt, done for the year. I mean, you already put one guy on the bench that gives you the best chance to win with the whole season in front of you. I understand the line sucks, but you can bring him along easy. You can develop him easy. Oh, he's not ready. No, he's not ready to be at his best. He's not ready to be what he's ultimately going to be. But he'll be ready to play and to get out there and to create a spark here and there and to give you some hope and some life and to make some plays. He's ready for that. I don't understand the confusion. 617-779-0985. We're going to get a quick update here on the headlines and right back to your calls. Mark Dondero here in for Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston. We've got the Patriots covered.
Back in the hole. He's in trouble. A sack.
It's an all-new season for the Pats, and you'll hear it all right here. 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Breaking news out of the NFL this evening. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and the team reached an agreement on a $120 million extension. $76 million or so of that money will be guaranteed. So Aiyuk will now start practicing in San Francisco for the Niners with Week 1 looming. News that you've heard by now is that the Patriots have selected Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback this season. That, according to head coach Gerard Mayo earlier today, the Patriots will open things up a week from Sunday in Cincinnati against the Bengals. Red Sox entertaining the Blue Jays over at Fenway Park, and currently the Sox are down 1-0. They are in the fourth inning. No outs, top of the fourth. Blue Jays with a man on second, up 1-0. Red Sox still 3 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League that entering the night. And the Golden State Warriors, they've inked Steph Curry to a 1-year, $62 million extension after his heroics at the Paris Olympics. Sports Hub headlines. Brought to you by Awaken 180. This September, make losing weight part of your new routine. Energy, clarity, better health. Find it all at awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here on the Joe Murray Show, Hour 2. Mark Dondero in for Joe. Patriots announced today that Drake May will not be their starting quarterback. It will be Jacoby Brissett this season. This season, Gerard Mayo said. I found that interesting. More on that in a second. Let's talk to Eric, who's in Essex. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Mark. A different perspective altogether.
Sure.
This season kind of means nothing, and the season really starts as soon as the offensive line lets someone through and Jacoby Brissett is injured. And then we have Drake May starting as his number 2 quarterback. And as great of a conversation back and forth as this is, I agree with you, Drake May should be the starter, but it's only a matter of time. Is it one game? Is it a game and a half? I think it's going to happen sooner than later. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, well, if that's the case, thanks for the call, Eric, then you've blown the entire summer. Okay, that's why I'm against Drake May playing in week 5 or sooner than that. If that was the case, why weren't you? If that was a possibility, which it is now, okay, I understand they're not going to start him, but I think it's a really bad thing now if he ends up playing in week 4 or 5 with a few losses already under your belt. They should have been getting him ready all summer. They should have been prioritizing him as the starter, or at least making it a true competition. Because that's how you get ready. We've heard Zoe say it. What gets a quarterback the most ready? The live 11-on-11 drills and all those things that they do in practice. They didn't prioritize Drake May at all during that time period. And if he ends up playing in week 2, you wasted the entire summer. So that is not ideal. That is why when they drafted Drake May and he was a project, I wanted, yes, that's fine. Make him a 4-month project, a 4.5-month project, and have him ready. Excuse me. Hairball. Have him ready. Get him ready to go by that time. Coach him up. Put your coaching skills to the test. Coach him up and get him to a point where he's ready to go. That's what this team called for. That's what the new head coach needed to be ready to do. That's what he inherited. They didn't go out and get a veteran quarterback at the level of a Kirk Cousins or a Baker Mayfield or even a Gardner Minshew, where you could have bought some time. They didn't do it. They had nothing. They had Jacoby Brissett, who is a fine, reliable backup in a spot situation for a quick minute. I don't think they have the infrastructure to withstand if Jacoby Brissett stays healthy but goes out there and is dreadful. Doesn't matter if the line's bad. It's not going to matter. You know that. I know you know that. Nobody's going to care come week 1 or week 2 or week 4 if he goes out there and the line is terrible and he gets his skull caved in or has no time to throw. They're not going to say, wow, Brissett had some time. We'd be rocking and rolling. No, nobody's going to say that. Not one person. They're going to say Brissett sucks. If he doesn't have time and throws a bad interception, Brissett sucks. That's all you're going to get. It's Brissett can't play. That's it. How is the team going to handle that? What's their plan for that? How are they going to be able to maintain that level of discipline? They're not. They're not. They didn't build it for this. And on top of that, now, I don't know. I don't talk to the players on a regular basis. How are they all feeling about the decision? How are the other coaches feeling about the decision? How are the Crafts feeling about the decision? I understand you have an eye towards the future, but you've pissed away this season. You got nothing this season now. You're going to go in. You're going to lose games. And even if you win games, you're going to win them the way that you've won games the last however many years. Even if you win games, which is what we all want, but it's going to be ground and pound, defense, hold the other team down 17-13. Hooray. All that's going to do is get you a worse draft pick for the year that May is actually going to play, and you could get him a weapon. Shame on this group for not getting him more, not having the team more ready for Drake May to be good. Shame. Jeff is in Ashland. Hey, Jeff.
Mark, what's up, man?
What's
Go
up, man?
Bulldogs.
Let's go, baby.
Hey, listen. I think, the only goal this year now is to develop May. I think once you traded Judon, you kind of threw in the towel on the season, and the O-line is horrendous. I mean, Bedard was on a few weeks ago saying the O-line was basically the worst he's ever seen. They were getting sacked left and right with the Eagles in joint practices. And so what do you think about, when is the Pats bye? Like week 8 or week 9, something like that?
I thought it was week 10.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you throw out Brissett out there for 8 or 9 weeks? You're probably going to be 2-7, and then going into the bye, at least you'll have an idea of what the O-line actually looks like, and then you give May like 2 weeks worth of first team reps, and then get him out there and stick May, baby. Let's go.
Okay, thanks for the call, Jeff. No, I look, that sounds nice, and look, I want him to sit at least until the bye. At least until the bye. Let him really. If that's what they're doing, go all in on it. Don't try to put him in soon. Don't do it because, again, then all you're doing is you're frustrating the team because you could have, especially if he looks good, they could have had him looking good early and often and maybe had a different season, especially if they had prepared him to play like they should have been because if not, I mean, look, He's not going to be that much more ready to play in week 4 than he is in week 1. Don't kid yourself. Oh, okay, the teams might not be as good defensively that they're playing. Doesn't matter. The 49ers, they were borderline a mess up until today when they signed Aiyuk. Maybe that's stabilized. Trent Williams is still, the last I checked, he wasn't happy with his contract situation. He didn't have enough guaranteed money. I mean, teams are going to get injured. Some teams aren't going to be as good as you thought. It's just not a linear thing. You could have had him playing. So now that you're not going to have him playing, I don't want him playing at least until the bye. You let him sit and absorb and do all of that. Whatever that's going to do for him, you let him do it. Don't put him in anywhere near the beginning of the season because that's just going to frustrate people. If that's what you were going to do, or if that was even a possibility, you should have had him getting ready to play the year because your team had no quarterback and their veteran option wasn't up to snuff. Lucas is in Norfolk. Hey, Lucas.
Hey, how you doing? I agree with what you're saying. If you toss him in, it doesn't matter who's in there. Joe Burrow, great quarterback, but he didn't have a line, and he got the crap kicked out of him. Andrew Luck, same thing. You might be an elite, a top tier, the best quarterback, but if you have edge rushers that are going to get you, they're going to get you. So you need to focus on line stuff. And with all the money they had, it's unfortunate they didn't pick up a good tackle, a solid right, solid left. All right, thanks, man.
Thanks, Lucas. I'm just disappointed, and it goes beyond disappointment, but I'm disappointed that they weren't prepared, at least seemingly, for the possibility that the number 3 overall pick might pop, and you might be able to play him. Now, we don't know what Drake May is. He was playing against 2s and 3s, and who knows? But I don't know. What if he was pretty good? What if he did figure it out quicker than you thought? You want to have a team that can absorb him. And the worst thing is, around him, he is kind of supported. They have a running back. They invested in wide receivers. I mean, they used draft capital. They re-signed guys. They had some pieces. The offensive line became such a problem. I feel like they should have been developing him while allowing him to play. You don't let him do I'm not saying come out and let him throw it 45 times per game. If Drake May was in there, I'd be okay with the high school plays. I'd be okay doing that because here's the thing. You want him to sit and learn. Okay, all these guys that have sat and learned, at least usually they're learning and sitting behind an offense that's good, if not great. Whether it's Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, whether it's, Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. Now, Alex Smith isn't elite, but that offense was good. Andy Reid there. I mean, you were exposed to dynamic plays and a culture of dynamic offense. That's what you were learning. That's what you were absorbing. All this guy's going to absorb is high school plays and sideways passes and screen king. We're going to be the king of screens, this team. Screen plays, sideways passes, draw plays. Woo! That gets you fired up. That's what he's going to be absorbed to. That's what he's going to be exposed to. That's not, that. I don't know what he's going to do in terms of what he learns watching that. And Jacoby Brissett, I mean, maybe he'll learn some stuff in the film room. I don't know. But it just doesn't feel like that's enough. Doesn't feel like that's enough. 617-779-0985. I would have done that. I would have tried to run the ball, max protect, and then ease him in once the offensive line finds a little bit of rhythm. Here's another thing. Again, I've alluded to it. But the offensive line's a problem. Now, I don't know if there's anybody out there to sign. They got claimed a couple guys on the wire, the waiver wire. Hooray. If there's somebody else out there to sign, good. I don't know how you're going to do that. I don't think anybody significant's coming in at this point. But maybe what you could have done was because what they're going to do now is they're going to put Jacoby Brissett in. They're going to be exposed when they face these starting defenses and these elite defenses. Brissett can't move. They're going to get him pummeled. They're going to not do anything productive, and it's going to be a disaster. Instead, what they could have done was put the quarterback in that gives them the better chance to win, the quarterback that's more elusive and mobile, and they could have tried to protect that quarterback with plays that also could have protected the offensive line. Running plays, high school plays, which people would have accepted with Drake May. And it would have been a way to ease him into NFL football, to expose him to the best defenses he'd ever see, and to generate some confidence. Now all he's going to do is watch Brissett get his brains beat down. How are you going to develop any confidence doing that? It's just not there. It's a nothing burger. And it's going to really turn off, I think. I mean, if you're a competitor, how are you not turned off? If you're a competitor on the New England Patriots, that's the question I have. I'm not going to speak for them, but I wonder that question. If you're a competitor, how do you not get turned off by what happened today? Barry is in Woburn. Hey, Barry.
Hey, I go along with you as far as Drake May's capabilities, but, the bottom line is you put this kid out there now, he's going to get killed with that line. I know it's ad nauseum about all this stuff that they didn't do anything with him during training camp, but it's too late. We got to move on. I mean, even if he played, maybe we win a couple of more games with him, but I don't want to put him at risk. I think he's going to be the future of this team. And there's nothing we can do. They're not bringing in line people that are going to protect them. So why do you want to put him out there just so he can get the experience? You saw the preseason games.
I saw him.
Those guys out there were third string. And look what they were doing. Look what they did to Brissett. Can you imagine when the first line guys are out there in the games? This kid he'll be out of there within the first game or two.
All right. Thanks for the call, Barry. I'm not explaining it well enough, I guess. You can do things that help him not get his brains beat in. I'm worried about what message that was sent from Gerard Mayo by not putting him in there, what the team thinks of this. You could develop his confidence with a less than stellar group offensively on the line if you put him in there, scheme it up, and you let him get a few plays that actually work and are productive for you. And you're protecting the line. That's what it's about. That's what good quarterbacks do. They cover up holes. They make things and people around them better. I mean, you're acting like I'm going to put him out there and put him in shotgun or drop him back as 7-step drops and throw it 40 times. I'm not saying to do that. But Brissett has no chance. Coach him. Scheme it up. Don't force feed him your whatever the AVP offense is. Do what's good for him, what he's comfortable with, what the line might be comfortable with, and based on his skill set. Move him out of the pocket. Play action pass. Screens. Draws. I'm okay if you're going to use those plays with Drake May. I'm okay with that. And you build it from there. All of a sudden, you get a little rhythm. You get a little confidence. The line gets a little bit more confident because they're not a disaster. May is protecting them. Listen, I mean, didn't have to be this way. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
right, back here on the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe. 617-779-0985. My point isn't getting through, and that's fine. I just see it as the Patriots had a better chance of winning games with Drake May playing. They had a better chance of protecting the offensive line with Drake May playing. They had a better chance of getting into a position mentally to have a good season with Drake May playing, and I feel like Jacoby Brissett is just conceding the year. And, you know, at that point, I don't see any reason to put Drake May in at all, honestly. If that's what we're going to do, if we're going to have an eye towards the future, you might as well go all the way and get the best pick possible. And then you can draft that left tackle. The best pick possible. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody. You know, why don't you answer that question for me? Why don't you do that? If you don't want Drake May to play, why would you want them to do anything this year that's anywhere close to winning or being productive in the win column? It's not going to happen this year. The line's terrible, right? There's no reason to believe in anything this year. You might, if it's an eye towards the future, that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing. We are looking towards the future and protecting the asset that is Drake May for the future. So if that's the case, why would you do anything this year? You know, you can go out there and try. I'm not saying don't play hard, but why would you do anything other than putting the guys out there and letting them play hard? Because the future is about later. It's not now. So you might as well get the best draft pick you can and see where it goes. That's what the future, that'd be best for the future. So why not do that? Why not go all the way? I mean, why, if you're rooting for Drake May to sit and you're thinking about the future, why are you going to root for the Patriots to win games this year? We're talking about the future. Why, if there's no future this year, why would you just, I don't know, root for them to lose every game? Get a better draft pick. Get a stud next year when everything's up and running. Tim's in Nashua. Hey, Tim. What's up, Tim? Tim! All right, we'll put him on hold. Not ready. Kyle is in Rhode Island. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, if we're starting Jacoby just to protect Drake May, as everyone's saying, I mean, what happens when Jacoby gets inevitably hurt behind this offensive line? Do we just throw all that away and hope that Drake May's good? Like, what's the whole point of that at this point?
Well, exactly. That's a good question. Thanks for the call, Kyle. That's exactly right. That's why I have a problem with this. I mean, not that I wanted them to keep Bailey Zappi, but it doesn't make much sense to put May in the event of a Brissett injury. If you're so dead set on protecting the asset, why would you put him in? That's what I'm not seeing. I'm not comprehending. I'm not feeling that. So, seriously, where are we drawing the line? Why nobody wants to answer that question, do they? If you are set on sitting Drake May because you're worried he could be ruined and you want him in the right space for the future, why are you going to root for the Patriots to win a single game this year? You know the line's no good. You know they're not going to be good. And now you don't even have the hope of a quarterback. Why would you root for them to win? What would be best for the long term, which is why you're sitting Drake May for the future, would be to lose every game this year. Okay? And then get a high draft pick next year. And don't talk to me about the program. Don't talk to me about building a winning whatever. No, you chose not to do that. You chose not to do that. It's not that you couldn't. You chose not to. You made the coherent decision not to because you sat the guy that gave you the best chance at doing just that. You sat him. Don't tell me it's about getting a better whatever. You sat that guy. It's not going to happen. So with that being said, what's the point? I mean, the line's that bad. You're not going to be able to put anything together in terms of making a run at anything substantial because the line's that bad. Jacoby Brissett hasn't shown anything in the preseason that would make you think he could do anything close to getting you to representative this year. So you're not creating a winning culture based on how Brissett looked and how he played. The only way to create a winning culture would have been, the only chance would have been to play May, and you decided not to do that. So that's out the window. We can try Tim again in Nashua. Tim, are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that, Mark.
What's up?
So the confusion above the play is what really bothers me. Even to watch that display on the field and actually to make a decision to put Brissett back in there, how do you feel about, from the assistant coaches all the way up? I mean, I really don't feel that comfortable with any of them.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the call, Tim. No. And I always liked Gerard Mayo's demeanor, and I liked, obviously, what he did with the defense. No, I'm not comfortable whatsoever. I think they've made this into a disaster. A disaster. And let me just say this, okay, about Mayo and how he has approached different things. I'm shocked at how far it's gotten away from him in terms of talking to the media. You didn't have to be Belichick. You know who I thought was good at what they needed? Or the perfect guy to kind of learn from? And maybe you're going to laugh at me because I didn't go to a ton of his press conferences. I interviewed him a few times. John Farrell. I thought John Farrell was really good at saying nothing yet not being a dick in the midst of saying nothing. He'd give you nothing, but he'd also sort of be respectful about it and kind of do it in a friendly way, sort of what Mayo's looking for. He didn't tell you everything. Mayo says all these different things. Just quiet. Who cares what we have to say? We don't need to be your friends. We can have a good I have a good relationship with people that I'm not necessarily friends with. That's all you need to have. Respectful back and forth. You can still find a way to talk yourself out of not answering questions, but just do it in a way that's not being a jerk. You're not as cantankerous as Bill Belichick was. And again, I was fine handling him like that. I didn't care. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to create a different perception, fine. But you don't have to tell us everything. I mean, saying what he said about he said competition 100 million times. That was such a misstep. It's a misstep. I don't want to hear you talk about that. Now, I don't know what he was telling the team, but that sounds like a really funny thing to tell the media and not the team, Competition sounds like a pretty good thing to preach to the team. Like, I don't know, was he saying that to the media and then he was saying to the guys, it's not really a competition. So go out there and just kind of, get ready, do your thing, but don't worry about competing. Like, that's not what he said. I feel like he said it was a competition to the team, too. Buzz is in Sharon. Hey, Buzz.
Yeah, hey, there's so many different directions to go on this. I barely know where to start. But I could see this coming down. I could see this coming from, months ago. They should have traded the pick and got, picked up a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, and whatever. As soon as they got the quarterback there, Jacoby, I was like, oh, that's their quarterback. I don't know if I'm clairvoyant in this regard or whatever, but it seemed obvious to me. And then it looks like Mayo got the rug pulled out from under him. It looked like everybody, this is just looking at my reaction to what went on today. He was saying there's going to be a competition and, we're going to do the winner. And then Wolf or somebody told him, well, yeah, you ran your competition, but now we're just going to play Brissett. And it looks like they're doing what Indianapolis did when they did the suck for luck. They want another high draft pick, and if they didn't, they'd have an offensive line. You can't win without an offensive line, and they've done nothing to shore that up.
Thanks for the call, Buzz. Yeah, I don't think they're actually tanking. I don't think they're doing that. I just wonder how much respect Gerard Mayo has garnered in the locker room throughout this whole process and in training camp. I mean, yeah, you need to be the man. You need to be the guy that, is in charge, making the decisions that guys are going to have confidence in. You can't look like you're taking orders. The quarterback decision needs to be the head coach's. I hated when he said that Alex Van Pelt was the head coach of the offense. No, you're the head coach. You. Look, I'm not going to ring alarm bells. I'm just concerned. And again, please listen to me. That to me is a bigger risk going forward to me than having Drake May play. That what happened and how this whole thing transpired puts the Patriots organization more at risk than having Drake May play behind this offensive line. Because I would have, as a coach, tried to protect him. I would have called plays that might not have gotten him killed. I would have tried to ease him in, but I would have had him out there. And I would have tried to tap into his whatever his potential is as soon as possible. I'm fearful that this puts them more at risk going forward. The indecision, the lack of conviction, who's in charge, what's our culture, competition, nope. Who is going to play in that type of system with any type of confidence or swagger? I don't know what type of team you're building if it's not predicated on competition, let alone if it was predicated on a lie or deception. 617-779-0985. Let's get our headlines. When we get back, I have a Bruins thought that I don't know if I'm in the mood to make, but we'll see. I'm Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Breaking news out of the NFL this evening. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and the team reach an agreement on a $120 million extension with more than $75 million guaranteed. Aiyuk will not
on the Sports Hub.
Morning, Drought. Hope all is well with you. In that same answer, you kind of raised a hypothetical in regard to the starting quarterback position, and there was some ifs involved in regard to Drake potentially beating Jacoby out. Do you see this as being a competition between the two of them right now as to who's going to be the starting quarterback against Cincinnati?
I do. We have 3 more days of training camp practices, and it's our job as coaches to evaluate, and the competition isn't over. They're still going to go out there, and they have to show not only their themselves and the coaches, but also their teammates. So it's definitely still a competition.
All right, back here on the Joe Murray Show. That was Gerard Mayo. Not that long ago. What was the date of that, Skaz? Like, within the last week or so? I mean, Gerard Mayo's been saying all throughout camp about the competition thing, and maybe it wasn't ever really a competition. Then don't say it. Look, again, I don't like where he's at with this whole media thing. But, again, if you intended to play Jacoby Brissett all along, say it. Say it. Have some conviction and just say it. We are not playing the kid. Brissett is here to play. There is no competition. Sure as hell don't come out and say, yeah, if he's better than Jacoby, he'll start. Don't say that if that's not the case. Or just say nothing. And I sure as hope that is not the message that the players got throughout the whole camp and the whole summer. Steve is in Providence. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how's it going? Question for you, and I guess a question for the listeners. Are we at all afraid of this turning into a Mac Jones 2.0 where coaches and leadership just ruin this kid and he's out there seeing ghosts and his career is, he goes from being first round pick to trying to get a job somewhere in the NFL? I don't know. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Steve. I don't think so. Number one, this is the number 3 overall pick. Mac Jones was 15, but that you can put that aside if you want. Number 2, Mac Jones came in and had a great rookie season. Okay, for whatever you think of the Pro Bowl, it doesn't mean anything, whatever. He made the Pro Bowl. He led the team to the playoffs, and at one point in November, even late November, they were the number 1 seed. I don't think these are apples to apples. I think that's a totally different situation, what unfolded there and what led to the Mac Jones downfall. And again, that supports my point. If you're not it doesn't matter when you start playing. If you start early, if you play late, I don't think you're going to develop that level of confidence and be able to keep it just because you didn't play. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to work. If you sit, right? Yes, you might develop a little bit. What sitting is going to do, what I think ultimately sitting will do, and ask Zoe, but what sitting will do is help you have more success sooner once you take the field. That's what sitting will do. So sure, maybe you're a little bit more prepared. You understand the defense is a little bit better. You get the ball out. You don't get hurt. Fine. That's what sitting will do. Maybe you're a little bit more prepared to have success initially when you get in there and play in an NFL game. Okay, what sitting I don't think is going to do is create mental toughness within a player that when they face the inevitable adversity that comes with being an NFL quarterback, you're more prepared to handle it and overcome it because you sat for all those games. I do not think sitting aids you whatsoever in that regard. Therefore, if you're going to do that and crumble under the pressure or under the weight of some adversity, you're screwed either way. You're screwed. Sitting's not going to help you there. The only thing sitting might do is get you a little bit more prepared for when you first take the ball, take your first snaps, you might be a little bit more ready to have some success initially. If you're worth it, you're going to find a way to arrive at that success anyway. That's why I keep saying, don't say Drake May isn't ready. He's just not ready to be at his best. He's ready to play. He could go out there and play and make some plays and flash and do all these things. He's just not ready to be at his best. And if you're sitting, that's going to help you maybe get more confidence so when you go out there initially, you're a little bit more prepared to have success. But if you or when you face adversity, if you're not equipped to handle it mentally, the way you're wired, sitting isn't going to do anything for you. That doesn't help you in that instance. You either can or can't handle adversity. You either have or don't have any mental toughness. Mac Jones lacked some mental toughness, and that did not enable him to have the success that a lot of us thought he was destined to have. It was going well. When he was comfortable, it worked. The second he hit some adversity, he completely spiraled out of control. Sitting isn't going to help with that. Bob is in Millbury. What's up, Bob?
Hey, how you doing? Talking about the Patriots and everything, about the most cap space and all that, you think maybe they're overextending themselves? Because it seems like ever since they bought the Revolution, then, they don't want to spend the money.
All right, thanks for that's an interesting question, Bob. I mean, I don't think so. This is it's not like they've ever, they've never been the Los Angeles Dodgers of the NFL. The year Belichick was here after Brady, they did spend some money. They did get aggressive. It was about not getting the right guys in that instance. I think they're doing... I don't think necessarily it's not spending the money. Could they have been a little bit more aggressive? Could they have been a little bit more aggressive with the offensive linemen? Yes, they should have been. But I don't think it's all on they just didn't spend the money. They could have been more aggressive with the offensive linemen. They could have been a little bit more aggressive I guess with Brandon Aiyuk, not that based on what I've read, they offered him more than the 49ers did. Maybe not the guaranteed money, but the total money. I just feel like if you wanted to criticize their spending, they should have spent to get at least a representative offensive line intact. And to be prepared for the possibility that Drake May might look ready to play a little sooner than you thought. That's where I would criticize them. First and foremost in terms of their spending. But other than that, I don't know. I feel like it's a coaching issue. It's a mentality issue and a coaching issue. You got some guys there. The offensive line isn't perfect. You've got some guys that know what they're doing, David Andrews, and when Cole Strange comes back, he was a first-round pick. And you got Mike Onwenu that you paid a lot of money to. You can't find somebody, a couple other guys to just piece it together so your number 3 overall pick can play. I can't do it. I can't accept that. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best.
I got to answer them off the cuff. And Scaz's going to interrupt me, and we're going to keep firing through them. Rapid fire. Here we go, the Joe Murray Show. Let's go.
All right, Mark, a little different version of in or out tonight. We do have a buzzer. We'll give you a timer buzzer. This is what it will sound like.
Okay.
So we will give you...
I have to immediately stop once that buzzer goes off, and it's the next one. Okay.
And we'll say, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, somewhere in there. But, yes, so we will start rapid fire. Better Bruins career, Ray Bourque or Patrice Bergeron?
Oh, baby. That's the one you start. I'll go with Patrice Bergeron because he won a championship. I loved Ray Bourque. Great commercial with the Bob stores. But Bergeron had the staying power, too. He was here a long time. They always threatened to win it. And a little underwhelming. Bergeron.
All right. What is your all-time favorite play in a football video game?
I used to love the out routes with the receivers or running around with Michael Vick, but I'm going to go with the nickel blitz on defense where you have the nickel defensive backs out there, an extra defensive back, and the linebackers come right through the middle. I love the nickel blitz.
All right, your more iconic soundbite. Rick Pitino walking through that door or Parcells shopping for groceries?
I got to go Parcells. Iconic, it's Parcells. It might have been more fun, the Patino one. I might listen to that one more. Parcells, it's still lasting even to this day with the beef about getting into the Patriots Hall of Fame and how it ended. Parcells, more iconic.
All right, better feeling, hitting a 30-foot putt or a 300-yard drive?
Oh, the feeling, it's the drive. That seeing the ball go that far and bound down the fairway, if it's a good shot, straight shot, that's a better feeling. The putt's more important, but the feeling of the drive is better. That's orgasmic. Yeah.
All right. Thoughts on the Capri Sun going from pouches to bottles?
I mean, look, I don't know a ton about that. I'm just going to say if that's the way you need to go, if that's best for business, do it. It's an iconic look, the pouches, but the bottles, if that's better for the environment, adjust. That's fine. It's not like they're dominating the drink space.
All right, Mark, give me a cool job that nobody talks about.
Lumberjack. Why would you not want to be outside chopping down trees with an axe? You're probably jacked. You could probably wear whatever you want. You're out there. You got a beard. You look good. You look tough. You're knocking down trees with a little instrument, an axe. It's really cool and looks good.
All right, Mark. Here's one for you. What's one thing your wife would change about you?
Way too loud. There's probably a long list of things, but I'm just too loud. Normally when I talk, I'm loud. She's worried other people are going to hear me say something stupid or compliment her in a way that might be sexual, and she'll hear. She doesn't want me to be as loud. I'm too loud, and I've been working on it, but,
All right, here's one. Give me a take on forks.
Forks. If I'm eating dinner, I want a fork. I don't want to eat with my hands. I don't want a sandwich. I want a fork, and I want a large fork. Not a big one, but not a little dick fork either. I want a large enough fork where I can have some distance between my hand and the food. I can stab that food effectively.
All right, Mark, have you heard the Snoop Dogg song Affirmations, and what are your thoughts?
So shout out to Jen Wilson, co-worker that did show me this song, and I think it drives me crazy. I mean, it messes with me like no other. It's actually positive. It's like a kid's song. I don't know what happened to his brand, but he's just going off the rails with this kid stuff. It's crazy. You got to hear it.
All right. Maybe we'll play it a little later in the show. So what are your top 3 favorite Snoop Dogg songs?
Shock. The next episode, Nothing But a G Thing, and Lay Low featuring Nate Dogg. 3 of his more popular, I guess, mainstream songs, but awesome songs. That's why this whole thing about the affirmations totally threw me off. I know he's a different man now. Do we have anything? Do we have that song?
Yes.
Play that song. If you haven't heard this and you know anything about Snoop Dogg, you are going to be totally effed because this makes no sense to me. Listen to what he sounds like in this song. I mean, like, this is so far from what I know. I mean, look, I'm not hating on the message. I'm all for positivity, and the kids need that. But, I mean, man, what a 360 whatever degree turn that was from what he used to be, what I knew Snoop Dogg to be. Pimping and, smoking weed and like, that messes with my head. So shout out to Snoop Dogg for being able to adjust. Wow. I mean, look, I thought a guy like Kid Rock adjusted by doing a little bit more country and a little, not the rock stuff that he used to do. This was totally different.
What's more shocking to you, the Snoop Dogg turn to be commercialized or Ice Cube being commercialized?
Maybe I guess Snoop Dogg, because Ice Cube I feel like is still, I don't know, it's not total. He's still into some things. What, movies and the basketball big three? Like it doesn't feel like a complete 180 from what he used to be. But who knows now? Somebody told me today, my boy Dougie, I think it was Dougie who said Lil Jon has like a meditation mix or something like that. I mean, what are we doing? What happened here? I have no idea. But the Snoop Dogg affirmation song totally that is out of this world to me. All right.
A quick Google search says that Lil Jon does have a guided meditation album.
Guided meditation. I mean,
that's a 180.
Have you heard Get Low? I mean, I love the lyrics of Get Low.
a little
goddamn, I'm
different.
Not going to say that, but okay. Just people are adjusting and adapting to whatever. It's good on them. That shows versatility. All right, we got to get a headlines. We get back to the Patriots. Bruins thought looming. Mark Dondero here on the Joe Murray Show, in for Joe 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the Patriots.
Yes. Into the end zone.
Here.
Touchdown for the Patriots.
WBC FM and HD Boston 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Breaking news this evening out of the NFL. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and the team reach an agreement on a $120 million extension. Aiyuk will now begin practicing for the Niners ahead of Week 1. News that you've heard by now is that the Patriots have selected Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback this season. Gerard Mayo announced that about 12 or so hours ago. Patriots will now be opening up things next week, a week from Sunday, in Cincinnati against the Bengals. Red Sox entertaining the Blue Jays over at Fenway Park. Currently, they're down 2-0 in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs. Not looking good over there at Fenway. Sox are still 3 games out of the final wild card spot, or at least they were entering the night. The Golden State Warriors, they've inked Steph Curry to a 1-year, $62 million extension out in the Bay. And in college football, Colorado and Coach Prime not looking great against North Dakota State at home. North Dakota State up 17-14, second quarter, and threatening for more. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian.
This is Boston's Home for Sports.
Bow, bow, bow.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, hour 3. Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe. Hanging out with you. Get back to the calls here. Sean is in North Carolina on Drake May. Hey, Sean.
Howdy. I don't even have on speakerphone. Am I clear?
Yeah, you're good. What's up?
Just driving around listening to you. I've never called in. Long time listener, first time caller.
Hey, thanks for calling.
20-year Patriot season ticket holder, but moved to Chapel Hill in 2018. You make a point that I hadn't thought of before, but I'm buying in. And that is when Drake May, I'm a season ticket holder now for the Tar Heels. He sat for a year behind Sam Howell.
Yep.
And yeah, he learned. And then the year that really he did well was his freshman year. And that was a really good offensive line. And then last year, it was kind of a patchwork offensive line. And so his stats were down, but at the same time, he was still really good at entertaining. So I kind of think like it's just Groundhog Day, and it's going to be the same thing. like you said, play him now because it'll be just really what he did last year, and he was fine. He knows how to escape trouble. So I know you came up with the idea, but I kind of feel like although he's changed his color blue from light to dark, I think he would be fine this year. And I like Jacoby, I do, but I was kind of sad today when they went with Jacoby because I think Drake, he moves the ball.
All right, thanks for the call, Sean. Yeah, that's good perspective. I mean, again, I know people are kind of dug in on their points. I'm dug in on mine. I just think I'm not. I know it comes off with the passion and the intensity that I'm absolutely against sitting Drake May. I was not against that. I am not against sitting a quarterback. I'm against sitting a quarterback with the infrastructure that the Patriots are working with, especially with how they handled this situation. You did not have a true established veteran that was going to be good enough to navigate you through this season. Not when you have the number 3 overall pick that you feel like needs more time sitting on the bench. So either don't draft that player based on your situation. It's not like they didn't know their situation going into the draft. It's not like you had Aaron Rodgers and he got hurt in June playing basketball and you were screwed. And now you got thrusted into a situation that you didn't think you were going to be in. That's not what they were dealing with. They knew exactly what they had. They knew the cupboard was bare. They knew that it was a tough spot. And they still went ahead and drafted Drake May at 3 with Jacoby Brissett coming in. I mean, not good enough to hold off the number 3 overall pick, especially when you're talking about a roster that's not good enough on the offensive line. You're going to expose Brissett. And like I said, when he goes in there, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say if he goes in there and struggles mightily and looks bad and he has no time to throw and he's throwing devastating interceptions and nothing about it is working, no one is going to say, well, his offensive line stinks. Brissett would be in there humming it, throwing it all over the yard, making all kinds of plays, but he doesn't have time. No one's going to care. They're going to say, Brissett, you blow. You suck. That's what and that's not just the fans and media, players, coaches, everybody associated with the team. They're not going to care that the offensive line isn't good. They're not going to care. They're going to just say he stinks. Then how are you going to hold off putting in Drake May? When the team, when all the guys in the locker room know that the season is doomed if you keep doing what you're doing. The offensive line is doomed if you don't help them out with somebody that might be a little bit more elusive. I don't oppose sitting a quarterback fully. If you have a plan in place to do it effectively, I don't think the Patriots have a plan in place to do it effectively. You have to have a plan. You can't just have a plan to not play the quarterback. You have to have a plan for if you're not going to play the number 3 overall pick and the team struggles, what do you do then? There has to be more there. The plan has to be more elaborate. Joe is in Weymouth. Hey, Jack. Jack is in Weymouth. Hey, Jack.
Hey, we've been talking about the quarterback and the offensive line all year. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Our O-line is subpar to the worst in the league. Our quarterback room is Jacoby Brissett, a long-term veteran, and a rookie quarterback. Let's talk about something else.
Yep.
Why did we keep Joe Milton on the team rather than Bailey Zappi, who's been out on the field, won games for the Patriots, shown he's a confident quarterback in the NFL? Joe Milton is destined to be one of the most jackknife, Percy Harvin type players in the NFL. And I think, he's a special athlete. He can obviously throw the ball. I'm sure he can catch the ball. He can play probably any position on the field. I think there's a special reason that we kept him on the team. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right, thanks for the call, Jack. I didn't catch the last thing you said, but I will say this. He's right in terms of questioning the Joe Milton thing. Look, I don't think he's going to turn into anything special. What they should have done, what I would have done, if Drake May was going to be your starter, I would have kept Joe Milton. You never know. You stash him away, practice squad, third quarter, whatever. Jacoby Brissett's the backup. He's fine doing that. He knew what he signed up for. May's playing. I would have kept Joe Milton then. If they weren't going to play Drake May, which they weren't, I would have kept Bailey Zappi. And May would have been the third quarterback. You could give him the reps or whatever in practice, but the season is lost. You're not having a backup quarterback a la the Tom Brady years where you would have, if possible, if the guy could be competent and Brady gets dinged with a concussion and he has to come in for a week, you can hold on to that number 1 seed because the guy behind him is good enough. This isn't what you'd be doing. You could put Bailey Zappi in there, give Drake May all the number 2 reps in practice, but if it comes to playing another quarterback in a game, I would have kept Zappi if May wasn't going to play, and Zappi would have been the guy that went in if Jacoby Brissett got hurt. That would make sense to me to talk about all the offensive line woes, and then if week 2 comes along and Brissett gets hurt, you put in Drake May. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you were going to make Brissett the starter, I would have kept Bailey Zappi and made May the third game quarterback. Now, I don't know what that does for his development. I don't know if he could dress or whatever in games. And maybe if you're not going to play him and you can't dress him, he can't listen to I don't know what that would have done, admittedly. But I would not have put Drake May in there in week 2 if Brissett gets hurt if you weren't going to start him. I would have said, you are sitting, it's a red shirt year, whatever you want to call it, and Brissett gets hurt, then what's his name goes in. Zappi goes in. Don't like that. I hate that, but that's what I would have done. Because I just don't think it would have been worth, if you were going to get May in there that early, you should have prepared him all summer like I've been saying to do. All summer long, they should have prepared him. They didn't, and that's where we are. I don't understand why. I mean, the whole thing with Gerard Mayo in the media never made sense to me. I don't understand why he just didn't say from the start, Jacoby's our quarterback, and never bring up the whole thing about competition. I mean, were you worried about the fans? That's no reason to hype up some competition that didn't exist. You're just going to piss people off in the worst way. If you're worried about that, you shouldn't even be worried about that. Especially if the competition didn't exist. And again, I can't imagine you were calling it a competition to the fans and the media and not saying the same things to your players. That doesn't make any sense. And if that's the case, you called it a competition, and now what do the players think they're doing? What kind of program are they in? They can't compete for jobs? The best guy's not going to play? That's really aligned with winning. I hate that so much. I hate that so much, and I don't know what type. I'm not going to sound the alarm in terms of what type of culture that they've implemented now with the Patriots, but I cannot. That just is so negative to me. It's just a bad look. It's a bad situation. It's a bad situation, and it's a bad start for this coaching staff, and Elliot Wolf too. I think he's done some good things. I trust Elliot Wolf. From a personnel standpoint and the guys that he gets and he's trying to draft and acquire, I trust him. I don't trust him doing this. Whatever he did, whatever his hands were in the fingers in the pot of this did not go well. Blair is in Maine on the Patriots roster. Hey, Blair.
Hey, this has disgusted me totally.
Yep.
How do you pick Brissett as a quarterback to start over Drake May? How in the hell are they doing this? May is a better quarterback than Brissett. Brissett's it's going to be awful. Patriots are going to look awful. It's just not going to be good this season at all. Yep. I don't think Brissett's going to be a great quarterback at all. It's going to be terrible. Week 1, they're playing they're playing at Cincinnati the first game. First game at Cincinnati is going to be a blowout. I'm sorry, Patriot fans, but it's just going to be that way. It's going to be a terrible season. Brissett's not the greatest quarterback out there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll show everybody right that maybe he's a better quarterback than we think. But what you're saying is totally true. How do you put Brissett out there over May? How? How do they do this? How are they doing this? Like, what is wrong with it? Whose mind is this? Whose set mind are they going through? Like, what? I don't even know. Just tell me. Just please tell me.
All right, thanks for the call, Blair. I don't know whose mind this is, but I will say this in terms of the Brissett thing. You just can't win with Brissett unless you do. Unless you do actually win games. But then even if you do that, you could argue you're not winning because Brissett is not the future, and you're just going to end up with a higher draft pick and have a lesser chance of getting a stud. Even if they win, let's just say Brissett plays, and he doesn't win, but they're close, and they look better than we think. Then all that's going to happen is people are going to say, like, whoa, they are actually better than we think. And if they're better than we think, then you damn sure should have had Drake May in there because they're better than we think, you know? So, I mean, if you wanted May to sit, you should root for them to get killed. Not only will it help the draft situation for the future, but then you won't have you won't be wondering what could have been had Drake May been in there playing. You wouldn't have wondered that. Instead, if they play well and they don't quite win, or if they do win a game that you didn't expect them, you'd be saying they're actually better than we thought. And that would be even more of a reason to have had Drake May in there playing because they were better than we thought. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray on
All right, back here on the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe, 98.5 The Sports Hub. 617-779-0985. To me, this is too close to tanking for my liking. And if you're one of those people that wants the Patriots to have a representative product out on the field so they can be more of a winning organization, so when Drake May takes over, the precedent has been set, this is a horrible day for you. It's a horrible day for you, and I don't know why you would ever want them to play Jacoby Brissett if that's your mentality. You need to have out there the best player that gives them the best chance to win, and today they made the choice to not put that guy on the field. And let's be honest. You really think that he was going to be ruined by going out there? Come on. There's no way that was going to happen. There is too many things that he does well. He's too athletic. And if you're a good coaching staff or even a competent coaching staff, you would have found ways to put him in a position to protect him and to give him a chance at success early. You wouldn't have put him in harm's way. You wouldn't have put him in a spot where he was going to be at risk of having a catastrophe or some injury that was going to devastate his future. You wouldn't have done that. And if he was in a position to not handle mental toughness or to not handle adversity without any mental toughness, he wasn't going anywhere anyway. And I don't understand if you were one of the people, nobody's answered this all night for me. If you were one of the people that wanted Drake May to sit, and if you wanted them to be patient, why would you root for the Patriots to win any games at all this year? If it's about the future, why would you root for them to win games? You should root for them to lose and get a high draft pick. That's what you should do. Because it's not worth putting Drake May in there in week 4. If you were going to do that, you should have just started him. You should have been preparing him all summer to start, and you should have started him. You could have had a season this year. I don't know what we're protecting. Everybody keeps saying that. Everybody, all these people, media, fans, we're protecting him. We're trying to make sure he's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. I'm okay. I mean, people want you to be patient. For what? What are we waiting for? What is my patience going to do? If it's about the future, you might as well cash in with a better draft pick next year. That's the best thing for the future. Because if he goes in later in the season and plays well, I got news for you. It's not because he sat. He would have played well eventually. And, here's another thing. If he goes in there and plays well, but can't sustain it, guess what? That was going to happen either way, too. In any event, playing him early wasn't going to ruin him if he was the quarterback that ultimately we all want him to be. Was never going to ruin him. It might have taken a little longer to get to, from when he started. From when he started to get to where he wants to go. You would have seen more bad, negative plays. But if he's the quarterback that we hope he is, he still would have gotten there. There just would have been more negative plays on tape before he got there, opposed to him sitting and getting there after sitting. But at least you would have had a season, and at least you wouldn't have had mixed messages coming from the head coach, and at least you wouldn't have appeared like a guy with a lack of conviction who wasn't calling the shots. Who was being careful and not interested in winning, or worse, lying to the team. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but I don't know. He said competition. Then if there was a competition, May won it and you didn't start him. What does that say? I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to come off to the players. Maybe time will tell. Maybe we'll hear something. Maybe there'll be a Seth Wickersham report. I don't know. Jimmy's in Newburyport. What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah, so I think there's a lack of conviction. You should either start Drake May right off the bat and screw this competition in camp, and I think Gerard Mayo is being inconsistent and not a very good solid leader. But in my opinion, I think Drake May's ready, but the rest of the team isn't. So I think we should have kept Zappy, and I think Jacoby's going to get hurt, and like Brady sat, like Mahomes sat, have the kids sit, and in case Brissett got hurt, then Zappy could have been the backup. And I like Joe Milton, but odds are he's probably not the guy, and it's going to be too complicated if Brissett gets hurt, and then you got to play. I'd rather play Milton, but that's going to send the wrong message to May. So thank you. Appreciate it. Good show. Love the show and love you guys. So.
Thanks, Jimmy. A lot of things there. I just, again, if you had the infrastructure to sit him, I'm okay sitting him. But now we're talking. Now we're having a conversation about if you're really winning. That's not the conversation we're having right now. We're not even talking about his ability to win, and can he beat Mahomes in the playoffs, and can he overcome Josh Allen, who always got, and can this defense, can he find a way to beat this Ravens defense? Like, I'm not talking about something like that. I'm talking about his ability to galvanize the team. To keep his squad, to keep the coaching staff on track here, to have an actual tenure with the Patriots. I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if things have kind of gotten off the rails. Certainly not a good situation. I think he had a really bad training camp, Gerard Mayo, in terms of managing this situation. And it's just hard for me to accept if you have a guy that's better and could help you win football games, not playing him. Now, I get that he was going up against 2s and 3s. Maybe they weren't sold. I'm not in the locker room in the meetings. We're not in the quarterback room. But based on what we saw from Jacoby Brissett, I don't see anything there. And what we know of Jacoby Brissett, this is what you put at risk when you bring in a guy like that does not have a lot of name recognition, cachet to his name, and he is next to the number 3 overall pick. It just doesn't feel to me like if they're going to find a way to have any type of season this year, this doesn't feel like the way to do it. If they're trying to have a season this year. Because I vehemently disagree with what he said today, and I'm talking about Gerard Mayo, that Jacoby Brissett isn't the best chance to win. He does not. You want to say he's the most experienced guy, obviously. Even if you wanted to say he's the most pro-ready, fine. He's the most pro-ready. He does not give them the best chance to win. He doesn't. That's a lie. That's a fallacy. That's false. False. He is meat behind that offensive line. Red meat. He has the exact game you don't want to put behind a bad offensive line. May would give you a better chance, and they're going to put him there. And I just can't accept the fact that that's what they're going to do. Because if that's what they're doing again, that's too close to tanking for me. I know that's not what they're doing, but it's just too close. You're purposely not playing a guy who gives you a better chance to win with an eye towards the future. That's Too close to tanking. That's what teams do that don't want to win. They don't play the guys that give them the best chance to win because they want something for the future. They want to be in a better position for something in the future. That's uncomfortable to me. Either commit to the roster, get a quarterback in here that could be representative, that could withstand the presence of a number 3 overall pick and put you in a position to have a team that is establishing a culture of winning, or support that quarterback that you drafted at 3 overall with everything you got and get him on the field and coach him up the right way and say, this is our guy, this is our franchise, we're going for it. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Breaking news tonight out of the NFL. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and the team, they reached an agreement on a $120 million extension. Aiyuk will now begin practicing with the 49ers ahead. right back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, the Joe Murray Show. Mark Dondero in for Joe. Let's go back to the phones. Oka is in Lawrence. Hey, Oka.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
Good. So, like years ago, the whole tanking part, I'm all for it. They should have done it years ago, starting with Cam Newton. That should have been the year. That was an unbelievable job Bill did with coaching that team up. They won, 7 games? That was like a 3-4 win team. But either way, my point is with May, if he is incompetent enough to, as a number 3 pick, they should have never picked the guy, whether it's they think he's going to get hurt or he's not mentally ready or he doesn't know, the playbook, whatever it may be, then they drafted the wrong guy from the get-go. And that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, good point, Oka. I like it because here's the thing. With where again, I don't know why nobody's talking about this, even some of the smartest football minds in the media. If you had no intention of starting Drake May, or you weren't sold on his ability to be able to start as a rookie, with where the Patriots were in their situation offensively, you never should have drafted him. I wouldn't have done it. Now, if you were intrigued enough, and again, you were willing to put together the infrastructure to support not playing the number 3 overall pick that was a quarterback that you took, okay. Now, I wouldn't have done that, but I'd at least understand it. I wouldn't have drafted him, though. I wouldn't have taken a quarterback 3 overall with what your situation was if you weren't going to play him. If you thought he wouldn't be ready, quote unquote, to play, I wouldn't have taken him. I would have taken Marvin Harrison or Joe Alt or traded down and gotten more picks because my roster's so pathetic so I could draft 2 offensive linemen. That's what I would have done if the quarterback that was there at 3, you weren't going to play. I would not have done that. Kevin is in Maine on Jeremy Swayman. Hey, Kev.
Hey, how you doing tonight? Back to that Swayman thing. I'm thinking with that contract too. I'm probably figuring he's probably about the 4th best goalie in the league, and I think it all goes down to Sweeney too. Sweeney's just kind of missed the boat, and maybe they could sign him right now, or maybe I don't know if he'd take the maybe $6 to $8 million a year, 6 or 7 years, but totally screwed up. And in contrast to like Brad Stevens, by the way, that was a great pickup the Celtics made today too. So I'll hang up and listen to your comments.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Listen, I don't know if Jeremy Swayman, based on the things that he has said recently, is he going to take $6 million a year? It doesn't sound like it. Listen, I have had a massive change in opinion on goaltending in the NHL overall. And listen, what Jeremy Swayman did the other day, I really didn't like. Because whenever you start talking and sounding like as an athlete, in a way that, I don't know, you want to be the smartest person in the room, or whenever an athlete starts talking like they're the smartest person in the room, I'm out. I don't like that. That makes me think less of you. That makes me think you're some sort of arrogant idiot that doesn't understand what he actually is. Okay, nobody cares about your intellect. Do you understand me, Jeremy? Nobody cares how smart you are. I don't even know if he's smart. So what? He has a degree from Maine. He went to Stanford Business, online, NHL, whatever. Nobody cares. I don't care. I just want you to play well, and I want you to be a team guy, and I want you to win. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care about what your ability is to have a business after your playing career. I don't care what you do after your playing career, honestly. Don't care. I wish you well. I don't care, though. Can you help the team I root for win? You got a lot of money. You're making a lot of money playing hockey. Good luck. Invest it well, and start a coffee shop in Maine. Or a lobster shop. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. But when you start talking and sounding like you're the smartest guy in the room, I don't like those players usually. And I am starting to subscribe to the idea that goaltending is not paramount in the NHL, and you don't need an elite goalie to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And by the way, I don't happen to think goaltending has anything to do with a team's identity and their culture. It's a nice luxury to have if you have a top goalie performing at his best in the playoffs, and that's a big if. Goalies get in their own heads. They're not always at their best in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to play for $6 million a year. I mean, $8 million I do, but I think the Bruins, like the Red Sox, Mavs was talking about this earlier. If you want to trade some of your prospects for pitching, I'm in. Honestly, I don't even care who it is. I'm not married to any of them. Now, yeah, I'd like to see some of them get some action and see how it goes. I'm not married to any of these guys. Roman Anthony looks really good. I'd like to see him in the major leagues one day. I'm not married to him. I need pitching. The Red Sox have sort of proven they can find prospects to come up, position players who can come up and play. They just brought up Rafaela. Everybody loves Kyle Teal. Roman Anthony looks like a stud. They got Marcelo Mayer down there that's produced. We haven't even talked about Miguel Bleis. He's coming. He's supposed to be Mookie Betts 2.0. They've proven they can do those things. Jaron Duran was a guy in the system. Tristan Cassis. They can bring those guys up. You haven't been able to get pitching. Tanner Houck is a homegrown guy. Bayo, okay. I'm still not sold on him. Trade those guys for pitching. You can develop the other player. The Bruins can develop a goalie. Trade him if he's going to be this much of a pain in the ass. You'll get somebody else to do it, and you need scoring. You need more, offensive firepower. You need a better culture or a winning player that will get out there shift after shift and give you a chance in the playoffs. If Swayman's going to be like this, I'm not doing it. And I didn't know he was the smartest guy in the room person. I don't like those players. Don't like the smartest guy in the room on a sports team. I need that to be the GM, not the goalie or not the point guard or Kyrie Irving or whatever. I don't care that you went to Duke. I don't care that you're taking online class. I don't care. Go out there, be a team guy, and win. Swayman's won one playoff series. Win. 617-779-0985. Could do a little more in and out. Do some in and out. Patriots made a mistake today. And it's not because I'm against sitting quarterbacks. But they made a mistake today. I'm Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on The Sports Hub.
DAVMA.org. That's DAVMA.org.
Selleck and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
Live.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
Good. Obviously, the coaching staff know what the kid can do and what he can't do. We've seen him in preseason, but we've already given away a quarterback because we threw him in too fast. In my opinion, anyway.
Who's that, Mac Jones? You talking about Mac Jones?
Yeah, I'm talking about Mac Jones, yeah. And then they made it look like they gave him every opportunity. To me, they sabotaged the kid's career, And, everybody's all amped up because we all want to get back to where we were. But there's plenty of teams. It took the 49ers 20 years to get back there. It took Pittsburgh, God knows what, 40 years to get back there. And we got some growing to do. And we need to put it all together and take our time and put together a good program, a good organization so that, we have something to look forward to. I mean, we're just used to winning. It doesn't really matter which sport it is in Boston. We're expected to win, and we have that mentality. Boston fans are just who we are, But the long run, I say we give the kid a chance. Let him sit down. Let him learn something. Let him learn what it's about. Let him do some book work. It's not like just throwing him out there just because he's a number 3 draft choice. A number 3 draft choice means nothing if you're going to just not protect the kid. First of all, there's no protection. Our tackles are what we really need to be focusing on if we're going to put the young man out there, and we need to protect him.
All right, thanks for the call, Lai. I appreciate it. I mean, again, if they were going to do all that, I just wish they did that with a little bit better quarterback for him to learn from and a little bit better infrastructure in front of him for him to be a part of an organization that was about winning and closer to winning than this one seems to be, especially with Jacoby Brissett back there. I mean, I would have rather had Tyrod Taylor than Jacoby Brissett. I just don't think Brissett offers you anything, especially if you're playing behind an offensive line, like the one that they have now. All right, let's get a little in and out here on the Joe Murray Show. In and out.
All right, Mark, a Thursday night edition of In or Out. We will start here. Are you in or out on watching movies with subtitles?
I'm out. I have no use for subtitles. I don't want subtitles. Does nothing for me. And if I have to watch a movie with subtitles, something's going wrong. I'm either, there's not enough, there's too much noise around me, or it's a movie I can't understand what they're saying because there's a language. I don't want to do that. I don't want them up there. I want to just look at the screen and hear and understand the words through my hearing. That's it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nothing worse than when someone tries to watch a comedy with subtitles. Where it ruins it.
If there's like a scene where you have to kind of go back and just look at them real quick because you want to know what they say and you couldn't quite make it out, that's one thing. I'm not trying to watch a whole movie with the things popping up. This isn't, some foreign language film.
All right, Mark, are you in or out on eating breakfast every day?
100% in. Big breakfast guy. I get ornery if I don't eat breakfast. I can't start my day without some food. I like to eat food. The one meal I'd like to do without, if I could, and I like eating, is lunch. Lunch a lot of times just gets in my way. So I am in on breakfast, and if I could skip lunch, I would. I want breakfast, though. I'm probably less fussy with, I like the most things at breakfast. Lunch, I have a few different things I like. Even dinner, it's not quite the same. Breakfast, pancakes, scrambled eggs, French toast, omelet, breakfast sandwich. The only thing I don't like, you're going to be surprised, bacon.
That does surprise me.
Yeah, I'm not a bacon
Is it a
guy.
texture thing?
I don't know. I don't like the taste. I don't like the friggin' taste. But overall, breakfast, a hard in.
All right, we'll move on to this one. Are you in or out on still celebrating your birthday?
In. Why not? Life is hard. Life is stressful. I'm not somebody that's adamant about we have to do something for my birthday. You probably won't see me plan much, but I'll celebrate it if you want to celebrate it. I'm going to celebrate it, and if people want to do something, I'm up for it. It's not that hard to give me what I want either. My wife will say, what do you want for your birthday? And all I'll do is look at her, and she knows. Like, come on. So it's not hard. I'm not asking for a lot. Just let's do something. Or, hey, you want to get me a gift certificate to Pine Hills? Fine. Like, that's a celebration in itself. So I'm for celebrating the birthday. I'm not adamant about it. I'm not a birthday freak. I don't need a whole weekend. But, yeah, let's celebrate it if you want to.
All right, so while we're on birthdays, are you in or out on attending theme parties?
I'm going to go in. I'm not, like, if I had endless amounts of funds, Halloween would be a big night for me. I mean, I get the most elaborate costume possible, but I'm not some stiff. If there's a theme party, I'll get up for it. I'm not going to say I'm out on doing that. I'll have some fun. I'll get up for it. What about you?
Yeah, it depends on the theme, but yeah, why not? I mean, it's have fun for a night. Why? There's no.
Right, it depends. It does depend on the theme. You gotta think of you gotta know what the theme is. But overall, usually the theme is something that's digestible enough that you could participate in.
All right, we'll wrap it up with this one. Are you in or out on going to the movies alone?
In. Oh yeah. When I lived in Georgia, and one of the callers brought this up earlier in the show, Dalton, Georgia. We made no money. I made $16,000 a year. However, we had a deal with this movie cinema or whatever, and I had it down to a T. So whenever the show started, I would leave at the time the show started. I'd roll up right in line with the start of the movie, and I must have saw every movie that was out in 2010. Every single, I could have voted for the damn Oscars. I saw them all. Because on Sundays, it was $1 to go to the movies. So, and nothing going on down there. You play golf whenever you wanted. I would go late in the day Sunday, and I'd watch a movie for $1.
Yeah, I don't know if you're finding any $1 movie deals out there anymore.
Doubt it.
All right, that is going to wrap up a Thursday night edition of In or Out.
All right. Okay. In and out is out. When we get back, more Patriots. Maybe a Red Sox thought. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show. Let's get the headlines and we'll be back.
WBZ FM and HD Boston. Patriots! It's an all-new season for the Patriots.
Wow.
And you'll hear it all right here.
Yes.
Your home of the Pats. 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Breaking news out of the NFL tonight. 49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. They reached an agreement on a $120 million extension. Aiyuk will now begin practicing with the Niners ahead of Week 1. News that you've heard by now. The Patriots selected Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback this season. The Pats will open things up a week from Sunday in Cincinnati against the Bengals. The Red Sox, they lost to the Blue Jays tonight 2-0 the final over at Fenway Park. Sox came into the night 3 games out of the final wild card spot. And that took a hit after another L. Rich Hill did get in for Boston. Golden State Warriors have inked Steph Curry to a 1-year, $62 million extension. And speaking of new deals, Celtics, they signed Lonnie Walker IV today. Little 3-and-D guy for Boston. Finally, in college football, Colorado, they were losing. They are losing currently to North Dakota State, 20-17. They're in the third quarter of that game. Coach Prime and the Buffaloes. Sports Up headlines. Brought to you by Awaken 180. This September, make losing weight part of your new routine. Energy, clarity, better health. Find it all at awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
Get the app.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app.
Did you have a problem, Skaz, with the length of the press conference this morning?
It was definitely shorter than anticipated, but I mean, what else is there really for him to say? And it seems like I don't want to say they've muzzled Gerard Mayo, but it definitely seems like there was an emphasis on brevity in his press conference.
See, I had more of an issue with everything else surrounding the decision. I wasn't going to get all up in arms about the length of the press conference. I was surprised he didn't take more questions. I know you weren't going to get anywhere. Was he scheduled to talk? Like, I was under the impression he wasn't even scheduled to talk today.
Yeah, so I don't believe he was either. And then the team announced that he was going to hold a press conference at 8:30.
So when you do that, I feel like that was actually a good move. I think that was a good move by the Patriots. One of the rare times that the media and Gerard Mayo and what he did actually kind of linked up in a positive way. If you're not scheduled to have a press conference and you say, you know what, we'll do it. We'll give the reporters an opportunity to ask a couple questions. Hear me say it. I think it's I think it's okay for you to kind of make it as short as you want if you're not even scheduled to have one. So I don't have a big problem with the length of the press conference. I would have liked a few more questions asked.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Do you have no problem with them announcing it because of how camp went? Because I do think it is a little odd for the Patriots to have a press conference. Basically, well, not basically, it's what they did, to have a press conference to name Jacoby Brissett the starter. I don't think going into the offseason or even going into them actually playing in the preseason that I thought that would be necessary at all. But I think they made it necessary for Gerard Mayo to hold that press conference.
So you think that based on the way they set this whole thing up, it wouldn't have been necessary to have a press conference to announce a starting quarterback?
If Mayo doesn't have the competition comments and Drake May has outplayed him and all that, I think if they stuck with what I believe was the original plan, that they brought in Brissett to be the starter, if they just treated it like that all offseason, there's no reason for the press conference. But because of how they handled it, they almost forced their hand that they had to do the press conference.
Agreed. And this goes along with what I've been saying. They should have just said from the start that that Brissett was the starter and that May wasn't going to play, or just say nothing. Say we brought in Jacoby Brissett. He's got the most experience. He's QB1, and that's the way we see it. Drake's out there competing. He's working on his game. He's getting better. I mean, that's what he should have done. Now, does this completely derail Gerard Mayo's existence as the Patriots head coach? No, not necessarily, but it's still just a bad look, and you never know. You just never know if this is something that could turn off the guys in the locker room that down the road will keep him from ultimately achieving some of the things that he'd like to achieve. I just don't know. I don't know if you're a competitor how you could like this decision. I don't know. Unless there were things that Drake May was doing that none of us were privy to, I don't understand how you could like the decision that Drake May isn't the quarterback. You don't have a season. Because Jacoby Brissett is the worst guy you could put behind this offensive line. Drake May would have given them at least a little bit of a lift with his ability to move around and be mobile. He's played behind bad offensive lines. I mean, sitting is not going to help you become mentally tough. And a lot of the people that are concerned that he was going to get ruined, the reason for that in part is because you think that, Mayo put in a guy that, to try to protect Gerard May, to try to protect Drake May from himself or from having a bad experience early in his career. No. I don't see it that way. I don't see it happening that way. I see it as this is a situation where they were scared for whatever reason. They were scared, and they didn't want to commit fully to the kid that gives them the better chance to win. They didn't know what to do, and they found themselves in a situation. I'm sure Jacoby Brissett played a little worse than they thought. I'm sure Drake May played a little better than they thought, and they didn't know what to do. And when push came to shove, they thought they had a plan that was going to be fine. It ended up not being fine, and now I have no idea how they're going to be able to withstand poor play. Early in the season, I don't know how they're going to do it. I just don't. they have set themselves up for all kinds of noise. And what has Gerard Mayo done to prove that he can handle that type of noise and that he's not going to be negatively influenced by that type of noise? And is that type of noise going to do something to put Drake May in harm's way? I think you need to sit him. I think you need to sit him for a good portion of the season, week 10, bye week at least. Let him play at the end of the season. Maybe you let him feel a little bit better about going into next year because he played well after sitting. But I don't think you put him in, because if you put him in too early, why didn't you just get him ready and why didn't you just start him? And I'll say it again. I think they should have kept Bailey Zappi if they weren't going to start Drake May. It doesn't make sense to me. Week 5. What is week 5 going to do? What is the end game if you put him in week 5? Like that, the people that say those things, I feel like don't think it through. What are you doing by putting him in during week 5? I mean, I guess you're hoping that you're not over the first 4 weeks. And maybe you could sort of salvage a season at that point. But if you're not over for the first 4 weeks and Jacoby Brissett has beaten one of those or two of those teams that are pretty good, very good, you know, why wouldn't you put in May earlier and hopefully you win other games? He's more established by the time you get to week 5, and you might be cooking by that point because the team might be better than you thought instead of just intentionally punting on the season. And we know what it's like when when you don't start fast. It's really hard to make the playoffs. Am I allowed to say that word, playoffs? Because if you don't prioritize doing something like that or making the playoffs or etc., then what's the point of winning any games this year? Because if Drake May comes in and wins games, you should have played him and had a season this year. If he were to come in and win games, then you blew it. He could have had you could have been a part of a season this year, and you weren't. Tell you what, I take Travis Hunter on the Patriots. I don't know if Deion Sanders is going to let him play for the Patriots. He's a good player.
I'm still taking an offensive lineman.
Yeah, it's a good. And I actually think that their receivers are going to be okay. I don't know what Baker's going to do, but I like Polk. I like Douglas. I think you're going to be able to build off of those two guys going forward. And you could, if Elliott Wolf's nobody's doing, he could draft another receiver. But yes, next offseason has to be drafting linemen, has to be signing linemen. Both, all of the above. I'm just not as big on offensive line play as other people. I just think you can find ways to get around it. I think you can find ways to scheme it up so you're not getting burned by the weakness that is a bad offensive line. I think there are other ways to do it. You don't have to have elite offensive line play, and we've seen teams with elite offensive line play that don't have elite anything else, and it's not enough. So I think they could find ways. I think we're going to watch that game against the Bengals, and there will be stretches of that game where you're like, you don't even notice that the offensive line sucks. Then they'll remind you. But there will be stretches where you don't even remember that they're that bad because it's the NFL, and every now and then you'll call a string of plays where you can get the ball out quick, where you're running it, where you're giving the quarterback enough time. But I hope they didn't ruin Gerard Mayo with this whole process. Calling it a competition, having it actually not be a competition. Who made the decision? Was it Gerard Mayo? Was it Drake? Was it Elliott Wolf? Was it ownership? Was it Alex Van Pelt? Was May actually making the decisions? Mayo, sorry. Or was it Van Pelt, the head coach of the offense, making the decisions? I just don't like it. I don't like the whole setup, and I don't like how it evolved and how it ultimately played out. And now I have nothing but unspectacular, boring football to look forward to come next Sunday. I'll watch. I don't know what I'm watching for. I mean, I guess what I'm watching for is the receivers. And does the offensive line look as bad as everybody's saying? Those are the two. I'm watching for the receivers. Do any of those receivers pop in an actual game? Polk specifically. Or can Baker get on the field and do anything productive? The defense doesn't interest me. I think they're going to be a little bit worse than people think. The running backs don't interest me. I certainly don't think they're going to win the game. I mean, I hope they can find a way to do it, sort of. But I don't think they're going to really challenge to win the game. They might not get blown out, but I don't think they're going to be a big challenge to win the game. There's just not much interesting about the team with Jacoby Brissett in there. How bad do they look? Can they surprise a little bit for a little while? 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero here in for Joe Murray on the Joe Murray Show on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray.
Here on the Joe Murray Show, Mark Dondero in for Joe. Patriots starting quarterback this season will be Gerard Mayo. Check that, Jacoby Brissett. And I don't think it was a coincidence he chose those words specifically. He chose this season specifically. You know, and I think it was for Jacoby Brissett. He didn't want him to think, it was a symbolic gesture to not have him think that he has the kid looking over his shoulder. And I understand why he did something like that. I don't agree with it, but I understand why he did something like that. It's just funny. It's just something that makes me uncomfortable. It just makes me uncomfortable. He'll watch. He'll be in the film room. He'll do some scout team stuff at practice. I don't know how he's going to get vastly better quickly. I certainly wouldn't play him early on in the season now that you're not playing him to start the season. I would let him sit. I would hold the line, and I would do those things immediately because to have him out there, I think is just irresponsible, and not to mention you look even worse. You look even worse, and you look like you really don't know what you're doing, but they don't have a choice because they don't have anybody else to put out there. If the situation calls for it and Jacoby Brissett gets injured or something, I mean, imagine if you're a competitor and you're on that team and you know that May gives you a better chance to win. Now, maybe they don't feel that way. But if May gives you a better chance to win, or if even you're unsure and you think maybe he does, you only have so much time to play NFL football. And, May said all the right things. He didn't look all that upset in his press conference. I hope he's pissed. I mean, this is about competition for Drake May. I don't care what Gerard Mayo says. You should be internally motivated to get that job and be out there. And if you're not going to be able to be out there, you should be livid, especially if you feel like you won the position. Now, I know you like Jacoby Brissett. I'm sure you do. You have a good working relationship. That's fine. But I would have wanted him out there pissed. That's his job. And he won the competition that Mayo talked about at length. I wouldn't have been able to stand it. I wouldn't have been able to put on a straight face and sound happy based on the way I feel like I played and how I feel like I'm capable of actually going out there and playing NFL football. Now maybe the coach has got a different sense. Maybe they felt like he showed out a couple times in the preseason, but there were other things that told the coaches he wasn't ready. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm against sitting a quarterback. I'm okay with that. But the infrastructure just wasn't there for the Patriots, and now they're in a situation where, I mean, think about it. If you find a way to look really bad to start the season, how is that going to be sustainable? I mean, that you talk about painful, and listening to Belichick was painful. That is going to be so just excruciatingly bad. Every press conference after the game, every Wednesday press conference, when you have to go out there and field questions about Drake May. I mean, really think about that. See, this is what nobody thought about. Nobody is talking about this. Nobody. They continue to just miss the mark. How can you possibly go out there and look bad while losing games, look devastatingly bad? and just march up to the podium or in front of the team week after week and just pretend like everything's fine. We're fine. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep plugging away. No, they don't have a plan for that. And I'm so mystified why anybody in the media, the people that are on the shows, the podcast, why will nobody talk about it? Why? Why? You know they're going to – I think they're going to put Drake May out there the first legitimate chance they get. You know, they're going to say – they're going to go through the motions. They're going to say we sat him, we were careful, we were patient. And then they're going to put him out there the first chance they get. It's like that guy that goes into the gym, doesn't actually work out, doesn't actually do anything really substantial in terms of working his body, but went into the gym and he can say he was there. He went to the gym today, he got a little something in. That's what the Patriots, I think, are going to do. They are going to just put him in. The first legitimate excuse they get to put him in, they'll put him in. They will put him in there, and they'll convince themselves that they were patient and they did the right thing, and they gave him time to develop it. No. If you're not putting him in now, you don't put him in until week 10. You let him sit. You don't put him at risk. You let him sit. You let him learn however he can. And you don't put him in a situation where if you just put him in 2 weeks earlier, you might have saved your entire season. Get a high draft pick. I'm not saying tank, but let the situation play out the way it's going to play out. Get a high draft pick, and then everybody is all in next year, and you do it that way. Should have been different, should have been better, should have been better handled. But you do it this way because you didn't want to start him, and you didn't want to take the chance, and you didn't want to get him ready or prepared to play. So don't try it now because he's not going to be. If he wasn't ready during week 1, he's not going to be ready during week 3. Don't waste your time. Very disappointing that they got to this point. And we'll see where this goes in terms of how the team reacts. And I'm sure part of that will be unveiled during week 1. There was just nothing here. I mean, even people like Dan Orlovsky. I love his, everybody loves his breakdowns on Twitter and all this. But he's not talking at all about with the impact of putting that guy on the bench with the current situation that the Patriots are working with. And I still just cannot understand this whole call to protecting the quarterback because putting him out there is going to get him killed. How about you scheme it up so he doesn't get killed? And then you still try to tap into the talents that he has when he's out there. Doesn't feel hard. Instead, you put out there the guy that clearly wasn't the best option that's going to help you win. I just don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how to absorb that properly based on what's going on with this team and where they've been from the quarterback position. Just a joke. 617-779-0985. It's just so disappointing that they didn't find a way based on how the camp transpired. And I don't know what you're trying to be patient for. If he doesn't have it between the ears, if he doesn't have the heart to succeed and to work, he's not going to make it. Doesn't matter how long he sits. You can't teach those things just by a guy sitting. He has it or he doesn't. He can read a defense a little bit better. Won't take as long once he gets in there. He's a rookie, though. He's going to get hit. He's going to make mistakes. Chill. Let him figure it out. Get him out there and let him create the culture of the team, a culture of winning and competition, the thing you talked about at length all summer long. Let him convert on that. Send that message to the team. all that work that he did, all the things that he said about competition and all those things, those traits that you hope your team displays, went out the window today. Didn't matter. This was going to be the play. This was going to be the plan. This was going to be the outcome. It didn't matter what anybody did. Usually that doesn't work for leadership based on my experiences, but we'll see what happens here. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
News out of the NFL tonight. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and the team reached an agreement on a $120 million extension. News that is good news for the 49ers with Aiyuk up. You know, it's kind of a sad thought to think about, and I know I'm probably over dramatizing it, but it feels like we don't ever get to break down games anymore. I mean, at least preview games. There's very rarely a big enough game to preview in terms of the X's and O's, and some sports are different. I'm mainly talking about football here. But even with the Celtics this last spring, how many real big games were there to break down? Honestly. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Didn't they go up 3-0 in the finals? They went up 3-0, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they went up 3-0, and then the Mavericks won game 4.
Yeah.
And they looked awful. And, people got mildly concerned, and I get it, but actually breaking, I'd love to get into this game eventually. I wasn't going to do it tonight with the Bengals, especially football. You love breaking down games and matchups. But what are we going to try to look for in this game? There's just so many things that suck about being in this position. And I'll admit, if you want to call me the fanboy, this is where I'm a fanboy. I really wanted to enjoy a football season where the wins really, truly meant something. These wins if they ever won these games, it wouldn't mean anything because you'd still have that ceiling that is Jacoby Brissett.
Now, I don't think anybody expects the Patriots to beat the Bengals, but the Bengals have started the last 2 seasons 0-2. So they are a team that struggles out of the gate. Now, we have no idea how prepared or how ready a Gerard Mayo-led Patriots team is going to be, but the Bengals, I know they have Joe Burrow, but they're not. The Patriots should look competitive at times against the Bengals. And if they don't, and I think we're in for a really long season.
So I've been saying all along that I think they're going to be better. I think the roster is better than people are giving it credit for. I mean, you look at the defense. I know they've lost guys now. But even the secondary, you still have Jabril Peppers. You still have Kyle Duggar. You still have... We think Christian Gonzalez is a good player. I've been pumping the brakes on him while everybody else has been talking about him like he's the next Deion Sanders, the corner, not the coach. But, I mean, it is, a little bit different now that obviously Barmore's out and Judon's not here. But it's not, they still have guys. They still have Devon Godshaw. They still got Wise. They still got Uche that you might like. Keon White. They've got guys. Jonathan, all the Joneses that are still back there. This is the NFL. Nothing would shock me. Nothing would surprise me in terms of could the Patriots find a way to find. Yes, of course they could. If Brissett gets some protection, and let's say Ramondre Stevenson has it cooking, and the Bengals, they don't have a great run defense. They didn't last year, at least. You never know. You just never know. So, with that being the case, it wouldn't shock me. I'm just saying in terms of actually hyping up the game, it's just not enough. There's not enough there to get you excited, and that's a bummer. I miss doing that. I liked hyping up the games. That was fun. Those were fun times, hyping up the games. And actually looking at a game, with what matchups you could exploit and talking about it from that perspective and wondering if you do win this game, what could that mean going forward? None of that exists. None of that exists. With Drake May, it would have existed. And not because you were going to go for a Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, but because you were going to be in a position to build off of the momentum that the young quarterback had offered based on his positive play. And that would have been enough for me to then get into another game, another matchup. But we don't have that choice. We don't have that opportunity anymore. And that's a huge bummer. based on where this team, obviously was a long time ago, it's just, I miss doing that for a lot of the sports. Red Sox haven't offered that. The Bruins have a little bit. But I don't know. You don't sit there and break down hockey games like you do some of the other sports. Celtics dominated their way through the playoffs. So I'm not sure what this is going to look like. I don't expect it to look good based on the offensive line. The worst part is going to be when they go out there and they're not even trying to be dynamic at all. And they're trying to just kind of survive. And they're running the ball and they're throwing sideways high school passes. That's going to be the worst part of this whole thing. The worst part of this whole thing, watching the garbage that they're going to put out there from a play calling and scheme perspective. It's going to be so boring, so bad, so uneventful. I just don't know how they're going to find any way to be interesting or to win or to come close to winning. I just can't see it lining up that way. So, if they're able to keep it close and have a few of the guys that will mean something towards the future look the part, that would keep me interested at least for a little bit. So, that's one thing. But I just feel like there's not a lot of reason to get too excited about the actual matchup in the game. And that's a huge bummer. We'll preview the NFL. We'll talk about the game. We'll try to do all those things. But I just feel like even if they win the game, when there's no ceiling, when there's no hope, that's tough. And you are now banking on the future. Okay? And I just don't know where that's going to get you now. The future's a long way away, and you got a lot of things that need to happen for you to compete in the future. And one of those things is knowing that Drake May can play. And you're not going to have a clue until he actually plays in the regular season. All right, if you want to get one more word in, 617-779-0985. We'll wrap things up when we get back. I'm Mark Dondero in for Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on The Sports Hub.
All right, back here on the Joe Murray Show, Mark Dondero and Joe. A lot of Patriots tonight, a little Bruins, a very little Bruins. Just a little touch up here. I like what the Lonnie Walker deal looks like. He's 6'4", 38% from three last year. I wish he was an athletic guy, but I wish he was a little taller. Tough to be a true 3-and-D player at 6'4". Need a little bit more height. But I don't not, this is the defending champion Boston Celtics. I don't not like the pick. So I'll take it. When you're the champs, you can make things, you can do things like this, and it works out because you can take that risk. You got so much depth on your roster. I like it. He's a good player, 38% from three. If he could guard you up a little bit quick, that's good. Red Sox, I can't say as many good things about. Very disappointing situation here. It's been disappointing, and ultimately they failed at the trade deadline, and that's what this season is going to come down to, failure at the trade deadline. Once again, failure at the trade deadline. And I'll tell you what, I know that the market for relievers was very pricey and tough and all those things, but I'm not sure I'm not giving Craig Breslow much of a pass in terms of, well, at least he tried. I'm just not doing it. Yeah, he got some guys that technically were relief pitchers, but it just hasn't been good enough. And now we're in a situation they have lost. They come after this road trip where they split with Baltimore. Good job. Take 2 of 3 at Houston. They get swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks at home. Good team, not great. Swept at home. And they split with Toronto at home. They're hanging on, but it's just not good enough. And I'm going to tell you what. We have done this for too long with the Boston Red Sox. Yes. The answer is yes. I would trade all these guys, all these players, all these prospects, these elite level guys, and I would absolutely do it for a pitcher if they could get a legitimate starting pitcher. And I need to know the name of the pitcher. I need to know what's going on, but I would do it. All these guys are not untouchables. Nobody's an untouchable. I don't care. If I can get a pitcher, he's got to be a good pitcher. I got to see what the pitcher is. Can't just be some guy. You have to be a good enough pitcher, but I would do it. I would take that deal because this team needs pitching, and even with Breslow, I know it's early, they have not been able to convince me that they know how to go out and acquire it. They can go and acquire, they can draft position players. They've done it. They continue to do it. They got the big three. They got Miguel Bleis coming up. They just had, Rafaela has busted onto the scene. Maybe that's a little aggressive, but he's emerged this year. Cassis, Duran. They've gotten guys to come up and work out. Position players. They have not figured out how to do that with pitchers, so I would do it if I could get it done, and I would trade basically all those guys. There's nobody that's an absolute... There's no Shohei Ohtanis. There's no Mike Trouts. They're good players, but if you can get a bona fide quality pitcher, I'm doing it. And there's still only 3.5 games out. It's not over. But we're entering September here. And they haven't really taken advantage of the tough part of Kansas City's schedule. Or now it's Minnesota. And an easier part of the Red Sox schedule. That's not taking advantage of it, getting, the split at home against the Blue Jays. You got to win 3 of 4. I know that's, it's a tough thing to do, but you got to do that at this point. Too bad. Red Sox, they've got winnable games. But you got to win them. It's not enough just to have winnable games. You got to go win them. They're at Detroit, which is, that's not an easy game. That's not an easy series. Detroit, not awful. But you got to find a way to go out there and win these games, and you got to sweep a team here and there. At this point, that's what needs to happen. You got to sweep some teams that maybe you didn't expect to sweep, but you got to find a way to do it that way because of where you are. I mean, Detroit's the last place team that they're 500. They're not awful. And they're probably better than, you'd want to give them credit for because they're in a division where every team in the division